Ryan Seacrest here. When you have a busy schedule, it's important to maximize your downtime. One of the best ways to do that is by going to ChumbaCasino.com. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino games like spin slots, bingo, and solitaire that you can play for free for a chance to redeem some serious prizes. So hop on to ChumbaCasino.com now and live the Chumba life. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
This is VOCM Open Line. Call 709-273-5211 or 1-888-590-8626. The views and opinions of this program are not necessarily those of this station. The biggest conversation in Newfoundland and Labrador starts now. Here's VOCM Open Line host Patty Daly.
Well, today, Patty Daly will be played by Russell Bowers. I'm in for the week here on Open Line. It's great to be back with you again. And I will once again invoke the spirit of Ron Pumphrey and greet you. Hello, my lovelies. So where does the day find us on this Tuesday morning? Now, I was flicking through VOCM.com this morning as I came into work. Question of the day is asking about major grocery chains, and they're signing on to a code of conduct. Now, the United Kingdom brought in similar rules not too long ago. Australia has these kinds of rules. And, of course, in the last, 2-3 years, certainly, the prices on some things have crept up. Other things have shot up. A few items, pretty stable. I honestly can't think of anything that's gone down in price. Can you? We've seen shrinkflation become a thing as well. Usually, this is in processed or canned goods, right? A box of cornstarch that was 300 grams is now 280, but the same price. A chocolate bar that was 52 grams is now 43 grams, same price. And we've even seen it with some of our favorite items, okay? And I'll admit, shake and bake. Yes, I have the eating habits of a 12-year-old. Shake and bake used to come with the 2 pouches of the mix and 2 plastic bags for shaking. Bags are gone. I thought maybe this was a ban on single-use plastics, but you buy the generic or no-name shake and bake or roast and boast, whatever they call it. They have the bags. Now, all of this has a knock-on effect. If a chocolate bar is smaller, of course, it's lighter. So if a transport truck can carry 100,000 of the 50-gram chocolate bars, well, it'll probably carry 120,000 of the 40-gram bars. I mean, it might be the same weight overall in delivery fees, but at the end of the day, at the store, you sell more bars. You either keep your profits the same or they go up a bit. Now, one of the goals of this code of conduct isn't so much about consumers. Food and Consumer Products of Canada says the code will improve relations between grocers and suppliers. You see, you walk into a grocery store. Certain products are displayed more prominently than others. And the stores, well, they charge the makers of those products a fee to get those extra special spots. There's nothing wrong with that. However, if those fees keep getting higher and higher, ultimately, it's at the cash register where we're paying higher prices. So it's not a matter of the product itself being more expensive to make. It's at the end point where the store adds a significant cost. So will the code of conduct ultimately mean our grocery bill will at least become stable? And so that's what we're asking today at VOCM.com. Our question of the day: all the major Canadian grocers, Loblaws, Walmart, Costco, Metro, and Sobeys have all agreed to sign on with the grocery code of conduct. But do you think that'll have any effect on the price of food? You can vote yes or no on that on our website, but we'd love to hear from you as well this morning on this. What's happening with your grocery bill? 273-5211. That's 709-273-5211. That's our general number to get in on the show, but you can also call us toll free from anywhere in the province. 1-888-590 VOCM, 1-888-590-8626. Now, you might have also seen this story. 2 individuals have been charged with uttering threats against the Prime Minister, and according to these reports, they posted death threats against Justin Trudeau on YouTube and on X. So, outside of politics, this story is pretty symptomatic of the times we live in. In the last 15 years, social media has made it all too easy to snipe and to snark. It's nothing to post comments that are hurtful, angry, derisive, or, just to be a jerk to post these kinds of things. Look, I was called on this myself. I had a Facebook friend, and first of all, we have to say the word friend, that's taken on such a different meaning in the 15 years of Facebook, hasn't it? But anyway, this Facebook friend sent me a direct message saying, why is it the only time you comment on my posts is to say something critical? Look, they had me banged to rights. I looked at what I posted. I just thought I was being snarky in the moment. But, if I'm honest, and what I said was pointless, and it could also be seen as mean, let's face it. So, look, that's on the low end of the scale maybe for these things. But what's involved in making that leap to where a person thinks it's okay to threaten someone with death? I mean, to threaten anyone with any kind of physical violence. And it happens online so easily. I mean, look, I can only guess. These people must have thought, not only can I say this in public, but others will applaud me for doing it. Look at all the likes I'm getting from this. Because in the last 20 years or so, we've seen this sense that just political, well, to bring it back to the politics, I mean, the party didn't win the election, and it was a close election, so I shouldn't have to put up with them as premier or prime minister or whatever it happens to be. The party in power should do what I say because that's what I want. How do we get a grip on this? I mean, we typically have 4-year terms for majority governments. Should we cap it at 3? When elections happen, do we make it easy enough to vote? Could it be made easier? Should election day be a holiday? Online voting? Mail-in voting? I suppose that's too easy. I mean, shouldn't you when you're making a decision on who forms government, shouldn't that involve some kind of effort? Is walking over to the high school too much to ask? So civility should, perhaps even needs to make a comeback, but ultimately that starts with me. It starts with you. And yesterday was my first show on Openline. We had so many callers, so many wonderful people calling in to say something applauding the lucky 7, but to also note that there are things that are out there in our public services that could use a little help. And it was lovely to have so many people get involved. And, this is a place where that kind of discussion can happen and people are civil to each other. Nobody wants to be hurtful. But when we write it down on social media, it seems like all the gloves are off. And that brings me actually to some helpful feedback I got on yesterday's show. So in the first hour, I was chatting with singer Eddie Eastman. Now, Eddie, an accomplished performer, he's got 2 Juno Awards from his early days as a country singer. And I was mentioning, I was thinking he was the first Newfoundlander to win a Juno. Well, Peter, he sent me a note on X. Au contraire, Peter said. The first Newfoundlander to win a Juno was, and actually, Peter, this is where I have to return the favor. The first Newfoundlander to win a Juno was Dave Nickel, most promising folk singer in 1974. Now, Peter, you did say it was Gary Nickel, but let's help each other out here. I checked the Juno list of winners for 1974. Dave Nickel was the award winner that year for most promising folk singer, and Dave actually had 3 other nominations that year. So a big year in music for Dave Nickel. So what else is on my alleged mind today? We're going to talk a little bit about mental health in this province in just a moment. We'll head out to sea to check in on the tourist season. Actually, I took a little weekend trip to Burlington a few weeks ago. I'd never been there before. Did a little glamping. So what's a place you visited in Newfoundland and Labrador this year that you haven't visited before? Was it for a vacation? Was it for work? What did you like? What would you recommend? I'd love to hear from you all about all of that and more this morning. And our numbers to call, of course, 273-5211. That's 709-273-5211. And our toll-free number is 1-888-590 VOCM, 1-888-590-8626. Why don't we get straight to the calls, hey? And we'll start with Janine Hubbard. And Dr. Janine Hubbard, thanks for joining me on Open Line. How are you?
Oh, good morning, Russell. Thanks so much.
And for context, we should mention that you are a clinical psychologist, and you were kind enough to get in touch with us over what happened with the cabinet shuffle yesterday. And our government has decided to take mental health and addictions out of the health portfolio. It seems to be lumped in with housing, seeing as it has the same minister. But let's just deal with that first thing, mental health and addictions. What did you think when you saw that move being made?
Well, I was joking amongst my friends when I saw the news Friday night. I was doing a little happy dance in my living room because this is something we've been advocating for many, many years. BC was the first province to have its own Ministry of Mental Health and Addictions back in 2017, and the federal government has had one since 2021. I'll be honest, I was a little surprised at how buried the information was, because this is a first for our province. And I literally had to go digging for several sources to make sure that I had accurate information.
Is that do you think that's an effort? Announcement. It could be an effort to keep people like yourself from doing too much of a happy dance, because, what's the old saying? Don't overpromise and never underdeliver.
Well, exactly. And I like to go into things cautiously optimistic. We haven't yet seen the mandate letter, and I should say congratulations. This is Minister John Abbott, who's been given this dual portfolio. And I should clarify a little bit that the ministries of ministers of mental health and addiction, some provinces have separate ministries, some it's a minister responsible for that portfolio, doesn't remove it from health. But what it does do is have a voice at the table, remembering that while absolutely mental health is part of health, it's also part of education, it's also part of seniors, it's part of child care, that it is really pervasive. And yes, it is part of housing. Mm-hmm. So having someone wearing that hat at the table to provide kind of that cross jurisdictional or that cross-portfolio perspective can often be really helpful.
And I suppose the other thing, too, in a place like Newfoundland, we don't have as many people sitting in our provincial parliament as they would in BC and other jurisdictions across the country. So you simply don't have as many people to be ministers of this and that, and so you have to double up some of these roles. What I think it was significant, and maybe you think otherwise, but I thought it was significant that mental health and addictions is with the housing minister as well, and certainly a place to live can certainly contribute to your mental health, how much or how little you have of it. What sort of significance do you think that has?
Well, it's interesting, and I did see a little bit of kickback online over the weekend, which makes a little bit of sense in terms of is this going to increase stigma, kind of like for years having the Waterford as a separate hospital? Is it then going to minimize, some of the other influences and factors that go into housing? Again, the proof will be once we start to see the mandate and see how things do look. Yeah. Because on the other hand, in terms of background and shared information, yes, you're quite right. Trying to find people with the right skill set and the right background, and it does appear that Minister Abbott has backgrounds in both housing and health and mental health, so that hopefully that will be a unique perspective he's able to bring to Cabinet and bring to some of these issues.
Well, one other thing I'll ask you, Janine, look, I don't begrudge anybody this, but, when it comes to these kinds of things, a politician can always be counted on for ribbon cutting. But I don't know, and that's to open up a new facility or that kind of thing. But I don't know if there's many ribbon cuttings for someone who's been sober for a year or has had success with their medications to handle some kind of mental health challenge. What do you think success for this particular initiative looks like? Let's take us a year down the road. What do you think success looks like for this department?
Oh, interesting. And you're absolutely right. Mental health is often, kind of shuffled into the shadows or put on the back burner, and it doesn't have as many people willing to come forward and talk about their stories, although we're seeing some changes in that. On one hand, looking at what kind of budget is allocated for some of this mandate, like I say, will be very, very telling in terms of what that's going to look like. We do know that we have another version of the All-Party Committee on Mental Health collecting information, looking You're a really good question in terms of what would success look like. I think one of the biggest things that we saw, at least in health with Minister Osborne, was finally making sure that all interested parties had a voice at the table, making sure consumers had a voice at the table, making sure the different advocacy groups and professional groups were being heard and were being included in decision making. And I think if I was to see anything feeling that the voices are being heard in a meaningful way, not just in a, well, we met with this group and we met with this group and we're checking off the checklist. I think that would go a long way moving forward to helping government understand on the ground roots level what is happening, what are the struggles people are having, and perhaps working towards what are some of the solutions that we need to look at moving forward, understanding that it's complex and it does cover many of the different ministerial mandates.
Right.
And so working more collaboratively with some of the other cabinet ministers.
Dr. Janine Hubbard is a clinical psychologist and probably knows a thing or three about the importance of people being heard. And Dr. Hubbard, thank you for sharing a few minutes with us here on the radio today. Hopefully we'll talk again soon.
Thanks so much, Russell.
No worries. Bye-bye. That is Dr. Janine Hubbard here on Openline. And I'm Russell Bowers in for Patty Daly today. We've got more calls lined up and ready to come chatting in just a few moments. But first, we'll take a little break and come back with more Openline right after this. I'm Russell Bowers in for Patty Daly this week. It's fantastic to be with you here this morning. And it's fantastic to have Mike Gatherall on the phone with me this morning. Mike's called in. How you doing, Mike?
Oh, good morning, Russell. Great to hear from you.
Season's up and running. How are the whales out there?
Whales have been fabulous for the last little bit. Yeah, with the first trip has gone out now this morning, and I think I heard some chatter on the radio that the whales were still out there, which is wonderful to hear.
Always a good thing. Bay Bull's one of my favorite communities. I used to have some friends that lived out that way, so any excuse I had to go out there. You almost don't need to leave shore, but it's Bay Bulls and Witless Bay, such a lovely area to be. But once you're in boat, what kind of day is it for you, Mike? I know you're the operator of this kind of stuff, but on your best day out there, what's it like for you?
Oh, I mean, every day is exciting out here for us. The wildlife is incredible out here. Even the seabirds, without the whales, the seabirds are amazing out here in the Witless Bay Ecological Reserve. And, I mean, we've got all this beautiful coastal scenery. And then, of course, this time of the year when the capelin starts to move in, the whales come in after them. It's, it's just one of these incredibly awesome sights, spectacles of nature. It's beautiful.
You know, it's been a tough slog for some tourism operators and just tourism in general in the province with, the issues we're having around ferries, whether they're local to various islands or just getting to the island in general. How would you describe the start to your season? How would you describe what you're going to be looking at for the next month or so?
Start of the season was actually quite good. When you're close to St. John's, a lot of the traffic here in this particular area at the start of the season centers around the convention side of things.
Sure.
And so that's a little different than the rubber tire traffic. The rubber tire traffic, unfortunately, I mean, that's a little more centered around the ferries. So with the delay in the Argentia ferry, that was a little bit of a hiccup. Did cause a number of our clients to have to reroute, reschedule, and things like that. It's funny the little things that can hit you. I mean, the other day with the outage with the crowd. The crowd, whatever it was for Microsoft. I mean, that even had a knock-on impact. We've had clients that had booked and their flights got delayed and those sorts of things. So there's always little hiccups, but nothing insurmountable.
Well, every place has its challenges, right? I mean, people will complain about ferries, but try living in a landlocked province and see how far you get with that. It's a fascinating thing. What are you noticing that people are still excited about when they come out to take a tour with you?
Oh, I mean, just the spectacle of the wildlife. That's always comes, first and foremost. But of course, then it's the hospitality to people. Newfoundland is widely regarded for the level of hospitality, and people just constantly comment on how friendly everybody is. And I mean, that's a wonderful attribute. Trying to market that is a little more difficult because every place says they're so friendly. But nevertheless, it's always wonderful to hear. It just means that you're doing things right.
You hit both the puffins and the whales, right?
Yes, we do, yes.
So you got the whales for the majesty, and you got the puffins just because they're so dang cute.
Yeah, the nice thing about our particular area of operation is, it comes down to location. We've got the puffins. They're kind of like our anchor tenant. So we have those from our very first tours right in middle of May, right through till usually the end of our tours around the 20th of September. So right up until mid-September, tons of puffins. I mean, they've gone out of all the other places, but just because of the sheer numbers, the volume of puffins that we have here in the reserve, there's always ones that come early, ones that stay late. So we've got them from start to finish, and then, of course, the area that we cover here is such a vast feeding area for the whales that generally it's one of the best areas in the province as well for those. So, really location.
I want to ask you a quick question. I was mentioning how much, I've enjoyed my time visiting Bay Bulls, Witless Bay area. How would you describe things in your community right now? What's happening with the economy overall in your part of the world?
Well, it generally seems to be fairly strong and robust here. I mean, obviously it's not immune to, the hikes in interest rates and things like that. And we've seen a little bit of that. I would think this year the numbers overall for province are probably going to be on par, maybe even a little softer than last year. But we had kind of that revenge tourism period after COVID, post-COVID. Now we're just seeing with the onset of the hikes in the interest rates and the cost of living, that certainly has a knock-on impact. But Newfoundland, on the other hand, seems to be somewhat isolated from that because typically our market skews a little bit older, the 45, 55 plus demographic, generally speaking. And, by the stage of life most of those people are in, or a lot of them are in, they're traveling, they've got their mortgages are already paid down and they're still traveling. So there's always little things happening there, but generally speaking, it seems to be pretty good. That is
the frustration in all of those inflation and mortgage rates hiring. It's so much money coming out of the economy that people would be spending on things like tours or the arts or other forms of culture. When are you heading out today, Mike?
Oh, first trip was long gone. First trip this morning was gone about 10 minutes to 9. They got away a few minutes early.
Okay, are you going out in boat today, or are you just
No, I'm on shore today, but our crew are out there. Got some fabulous staff, I have to say. I mean, I think I always like to think they're the best staff in the industry. We do a great job retaining staff, so most of them have been with us for quite a while, and our new people that come in, they're just so excited and eager to get at it. It's a real treat to work with them. You
have got a fantastic day ahead of you. It looks like the weather's going to be fantastic. Mike Gatherall of Gatherall Tours, of course, Puffin and Whale Watch, based in Bay Bulls. And Mike, thanks for sparing us a few minutes on the radio today.
Oh, delighted to, Russell. Thanks so much. Look forward to chatting again.
All the best now. All right. That's Take Mike care, out in Bay Bulls. And we're going to quickly roll along now to Ferryland, the birthplace of Ron Hines. And I'm going to check in on what's happening there this morning. Carol Ann O'Neill is with me, with the Irish Loop Artisans Cooperative. Hi, Carol Ann. How are you?
Good morning, Russell. How are you?
I'm doing just grand. What's happening out your way? You've got some festivals and some art shows coming up?
We do. We got a lot coming up this week. For us, for our Irish Loop Artisans Cooperative, we're putting off an art exhibit and sale that will run from tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock, until Sunday evening.
Nice.
And so for a 5-day event, and it's all local artists. We have over 40 exhibitors.
I was I went through Ferryland last summer, I believe. We were doing that whole loop ourselves, going down as far as St. Shots and so forth. And I stopped into the Colony of Avalon gift shop at the time, picked up a brilliant sweater that I'm still wearing.
Yeah.
And if you look at the banner that we have at vocm.com for me and Jerry Lynn in the mornings, I'm wearing that Ferryland sweater. So what's exciting for you about a week like this?
Oh, my goodness. Well, with the festival going ahead also on Saturday and Sunday, of course, that draws a huge crowd. And this year it's really big because they put the dance back on the field again Saturday night. And Celtic Connection, of course, is playing for that. But we have activities going on the whole week, or for the 5 days, I should say. Our big thing, of course, is our art exhibit. We have to thank the Colony of Avalon because the gift shop that you went to last year is where we're holding the art exhibit this year.
Right. So has the gift shop moved?
It's moved over to the interpretation center.
Oh, okay. So you've repurposed that now as this nice little exhibition hall.
Yes, we have. It's going to be called the Public House, actually. So different venues will be going ahead, and yeah.
Do you expect most people will be showing up on the weekend, or if there's folks who happen to have their Wednesday or Thursday off, they'll take the day trip?
We've done this before. Actually, it was 2019 was the last one because of COVID and whatnot. But we've missed out on the last few years because we didn't have a venue.
Right.
So this was really, really lucky, and it's absolutely beautiful. If you want to see like what we've set up here, and the artwork that's here is beyond amazing.
Carol Ann, we've got the disadvantage on the radio of course, it's a blind medium, so we can't actually see the work. But
no,
how would you
they'd have to come out to see it?
Precisely. But tease us.
Yeah.
What kind of work are people in Fairland making? What kind of imagery would you say people like to go for?
Well, we have. I'm here right now looking at it. It's paintings, all types, every kind of like watercolors. We have acrylics. We have oil. We have sculptures that are made from moose antlers.
Right.
Beautiful work. We have, it's called Pavaplo. It's sculptures made from wire and fabric.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I've seen people work with that kind of stuff. My goodness, the stuff they can make out of that, hey?
Oh, yeah. And this is all local, too, by the way. This is all Irish loop work.
Oh,
we
yeah.
We have hooked rugs. One lot of rugs by one lady she's been doing it for years, like did it the way they always did it, the old folk art type.
Sure.
With material, whatever you had. It was a necessity back then. But now, like, there's more hooked rugs now that are done with like 100% wool that would last a lifetime. And then we have fish. Oh, they're beautiful. Long wooden fish that are made out of wood from St. John's, a house in St. John's, and even the eye is done with a bottle cap.
Oh.
Absolutely gorgeous.
See, that's what you like
and
to hear, people repurposing
around.
things.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah,
absolutely.
He's amazing. And, of course, we also can't forget the people that have passed away. So we always showcase their work because we don't want the younger generation to forget or to not be able to see what was done.
Oh, yeah.
Like the work of Jerry Squires, who used to live at the lighthouse, Fairland Lighthouse.
Sure.
The work of Stuart Montgomery we have here. We have Arch Williams, of course, Dorothy Agristi, Stan Barnable, Henry Barnable, Herb Barnable, Alison Marr, who was the young girl that was on the Cougar that went down. We have some of her work.
Wow.
Yeah.
My technician today, Dave Williams, his ears perked up because you mentioned his grandfather.
Yes. Well, actually, I'm related to Dave. So.
Oh, there you go. See? Well, I'll tell you what, it sounds like everyone's going to be spoiled for choice. I mean, it all kicks off tomorrow for the Irish Loop Artisans Cooperative, big art exhibit and sale, starting tomorrow, as I mentioned, runs up until Sunday. You also got the big folk festival in town in Fairland this coming weekend, and again, it's at
on Saturday and Sunday.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So just head to the former, if you know where it was, it's still there, but now it's going to become an exhibition hall, the former Colony of Avalon gift shop. There's so much to do in Fairland when you're there. And Carol Ann, I want to thank you for joining us this morning. Carol Ann O'Neill with the Irish Loop Artisans Cooperative. I hope you have a fantastic week out there.
I hope so. I hope you'll get up to it.
Oh, I'll make every effort. I'm going to put it on my list for this weekend. You take care and have a grand day, okay?
Yeah. Thank you very much.
All right. Now, we'll take another little quick break here. It's Russell Bowers in for Patty Daly this week on Open Line. We've got calls waiting. I'll get to some of them right after the break, and that's next here on your VOCM. I'm Russell Bowers in for Patty Daly this week. It's fantastic to have you along for this Tuesday morning. Our phone numbers, a reminder of those, 709-273-5211. That's 709-273-5211. 5211 or 1-888-590-VOCM, 1-888-590-8626. We got a lot of lines filled up. We'll get to some of them in the next little while, but if you got to wait for a bit, I apologize for that in advance, but we will go to Sabrina right now. Sabrina, how are you this morning?
Good morning, Russell. How are you?
Not too bad. Now, Sabrina Jenkins, you're with the Junior Miss Newfoundland and Labrador. How are you feeling this morning?
Oh, good. We're gearing up to take applications now for our 2024 pageant. So I just wanted to give you guys a call and just have a chat and let you know.
When is the pageant meant to happen?
Yeah, so the pageant's going to happen this September. We'll be crowning our 7th Junior Miss Newfoundland and Labrador. So we're really excited to be able to offer this opportunity again to girls in the province. So I guess for people who don't know us, we are open to girls in the province who are age 10 to 13. So we gear towards like the younger preteens. So the deadline to apply for this year is coming up on July 31st. So every year, basically, what we do is we take the opportunity to get a group of girls together. We take them for the weekend. They do activities in confidence building, public speaking, seminars, games and fun. We kind of use it as a chance for them to get together, to meet new friends, make memories, build confidence. Most importantly, we work with them to give them a weekend where they can get together with some like-minded girls in an environment where we're really supportive of them and, we give them encouragement and empowerment. It does end, of course, with one girl at the end of the weekend being crowned Junior Miss Newfoundland and Labrador, and then having the chance to, travel the province and work with charities and attend events and parades and all that kind of stuff.
Now, last year's winner, Audrey Snow, she'll be giving up the crown this September then, I guess.
She will. She's currently finishing her last few months of her reign. So last September, she was actually the youngest girl we've ever crowned at 9 years old.
Wow.
She was just shy of her 10th birthday. So Audrey is from South River. So she's been traveling the province, attending events and volunteering for charities and organizations, becoming a role model and an ambassador in the province for the last year. So now she's gearing up to finish out the summer, traveling the province with some of those events. So she, gets ready to crown her successor.
And Audrey won your public speaking award. So, if anybody was ready to take the crown, it would have been her. She's just ready to go out there and start the ribbon cutting right away.
Oh, she definitely is. She's a sweet little firecracker. She's really great getting out and talking to people. She's very confident, and she's definitely represented us very well this year.
Now, just to take the competition aside for a second, Sabrina, you mentioned something kind of interesting. You got these girls who come together and they have a weekend together, and they get to, I suppose, grow together, and find their voices as they go through this competition. As a pageant organizer, as someone who's seen these girls over the last few years, what's it like for you to watch that happen?
So this is actually my 19th year doing this.
Yeah.
We started with Miss Teen Trinity Conception 19 years ago. So I've had the, rare opportunity for 19 years to watch young girls and young women grow. Some of our first girls are now married and have children of their own, and they're almost of age to come and actually compete with us in junior.
Right.
So it's for me, it's beautiful to be one of those people who can provide a stepping stone in just showing these girls, there's always people here for them. There's always people who can help you along the way. We're here to give you a support and an encouragement in an age group where, life is beginning to get hard, and there's challenging things that come up as you're a teenager. So it's really nice to be able to get these girls together with girls that they may not otherwise meet, and teach them things about public speaking and being confident in who you are and being glad to be what your personality is. And we're here as the adults who are the committee, we're here for them at any point. They can always reach out to us even if they aren't the winner at the end. So I have girls who are constantly on my radar. We'll do I'll help them with getting ready for interviews now with jobs. So it's nice to see them as they grow.
Those preteen years, I can't speak for anybody who's a girl, but as a boy, the preteen years, they're the sort of time frame in your life where it seems like it'll last forever, but at the same time, my goodness, it seems like it'll never end. So if there's an opportunity to do something positive, and feel good about yourself, feel good about people around you. If there's an opportunity to do something like that, then this seems like the sort of thing that you might want to look at. So the Junior Miss Newfoundland and Labrador coming up in September. And sorry, Sabrina, can you remind me of the dates to get involved?
Sure. Our deadline for applications is coming up on July 31st. The easiest way to get those applications or get a hold of any information is on our Facebook group. So you can look up Junior Miss Newfoundland and Labrador. From there, you can get all the links you need. You can get phone numbers or email. But if anybody does want to check us out, our website is tcpageants.com. They can email us at info@tcpageants.com, or they can even call us 573-0685.
Excellent. Well, Sabrina, thank you so much. Sabrina Jenkins from TC Pageants, organizing the Junior Miss Newfoundland and Labrador. And Sabrina, you've been doing this for almost 20 years. Thank you so much for getting involved with the program today, and I hope we talk again soon.
Yes, thank you so much. Have a good day.
Take care. All right, going to quickly move along now to our next call. It's Tom Davis, the Ward 4 councillor in St. John's. Mr. Davis, how are you?
Very well, Russell. You're doing a great job.
Oh, bless your heart for saying. These are big shoes to fill, and a big chair. I usually joke that Patty's going to be sitting in the big chair every morning when I'm doing the morning show. It literally is a big chair. What's on your mind today? What do you got? What do you want to talk about?
Well, I just want to quickly touch on the fact that MUN Hope, which is a great group at MUN that does cleanups, is doing another cleanup this Sunday at 1 p.m. at MUN. And people can meet at the University Center bus stop at 1 p.m. on Sunday. As well, I want to throw a bouquet out. My father had a reason to go to the emergency room Sunday, and he's okay for those listening. But he was really impressed with the care that he received and the professionalism and the efficiency that people moved him through as he had all kinds of tests and stuff. So I just want to pass that along because he was really impressed. And, a lot of times people who work in these public service don't get the positive energy and the kudos that they should get.
Mr. Davis, I used to work for a marketing research company, and we had a saying in the building with our particular work was that if someone has a bad experience, they'll tell 12 people. But if they have a good experience, they'll tell one.
Well, we just told a whole bunch of people.
Absolutely. So. You've brought down the averages. This is fantastic. We need to have more of this because you're right. We tend to hear about the problems, and we have even yesterday. But the fact that you've called in today and made this known, I'm very appreciative, and I'm sure the people who work in our health services are very appreciative of that as well.
So I want to have a bit of a discussion, and please feel free to interact with me on it. A lot of times we're running around and we're pointing at problems,
mm-hmm.
and homelessness or addictions, and they go on. And I'd like to suggest that a lot of this is more like consequences of more upstream problems. And I think a lot of times we sit back and we point our fingers, but we don't really kind of try and go upstream enough to really think about it.
Mm-hmm.
The first thing is to realize that humans are a herding animal, and we basically follow the leader. And Homo sapiens thrived and spread all around the planet, really, because we came together to survive and work together. As individuals, for the most part, we would not survive without a community because we're kind of fragile organisms that would succumb to disease or infection or predators or exposure to the environment and all that stuff.
We had a fair amount of help from what we now call dogs. They would gather around human settlements, I suppose, and they would keep other predators away from humans. And that's why I guess they've become man's best friend or human's best friend, because they spent so much time protecting little herds of humans that were just trying to survive. They'd huddle around because they knew there was probably going to be some meat that wasn't eaten.
That's interesting. It seems like we kind of forgotten as a collective. We've kind of forgotten how important all the individuals are.
Well, yeah, but we're so interconnected, aren't we? A decision made, a mistake by a software manufacturer somewhere, can cause airlines to lose flights, and somebody doesn't show up for work that day, and suddenly the baggage doesn't get cleared in an efficient manner at the airport. We are quite interconnected as a group, but we've got so much individual freedom, don't we?
Yeah, and there's things that we can't control.
No.
i.e., crowdsource or whatever the name of that company was, and Microsoft and all that stuff. And again, sometimes by pointing at things we can't control, kind of takes the individual responsibility off all of us to do our parts. And one thing I often think about when I look at why are we where we are now, and why are things kind of playing out the way they're playing out, I look around the community, I look at the actions of past individuals and elders, whether it's Lions or Rotary or significant leaders or even, parents and grandparents. And I can see all that. I can see what they've done in the past. And I ask myself, well, how do we maintain what they've done, and how do we sustainably continue moving forward, but also adapt to the threats that we're all collectively facing? And creating a situation where everybody is like a communist type thing doesn't work. But overly focusing on individualism which seems like where we're going towards now, seems to be not working very well. So we have to try and find that balance. And I think one of the things is just having situational awareness. I think if you ask the average person, or pretty well everybody, they all know that we're going not necessarily in a very good direction when it comes to almost anything. And I don't know how we...
Mr. Davis, do you think that might be because of our exposure to a lot of the American media? Because, we sometimes... You can't help but watch. Somebody said, the grotesque is something we just can't look away from. And I wonder if that is a reflection, if we think that what's going on in America or other places that are having a really tough time right now, if we feel that it reflects on us and makes it seem like we're having maybe a tougher time than perhaps we are.
Well, I think that, for sure, again, getting back to the fact that we're a herding animal and we're following the leader. In the past, if you go back to, say, our parents and grandparents and great-grandparents' ages, the cultural norms was a work ethic, for example. People worked hard, they worked smart, and they worked for a long time. They respected their environment, whether it was out of necessity or because, say, in the case of First Nations people, it was part of their culture.
Yep.
We had common morals. And those common morals were kind of dictated by a combination, I guess, of religion and elders kind of pushing them down. But regardless, the typical person had very common morals. And we did respect our elders, and we respected our authority figures. We respected science. And we were fiscally responsible, and again, maybe out of necessity, perhaps. Family was very important, and we worked very hard and made great sacrifices to maintain the family unit. Spirituality, however it was defined, was very important. And physical health and mental health, although it wasn't talked about, people still had coping mechanisms, like they took off, they honored the Sabbath, for example, but for no other reason other than the religion told them to do it, but it also gave them a mental break, too, and a physical break. And I just feel like if you look at all those things I just mentioned, that list of 9 things, if you were to grade us from 0 to 100,
mm-hmm.
passing grade in Newfoundland, which would be probably well ahead of other places on some of those things, and maybe behind on other things. There's no solutions to this other than, for me, it's just calling on people to try not to blame things they can't control. Whenever someone starts throwing rocks at billionaires, I always say, well, first of all, you give your money to the billionaires. Pretty well, you're not. You have choices. Food would be an exception, and obviously getting into energy and stuff. But we have choices whether or not we give our money to billionaires. And a lot of the billionaires that we want to throw rocks at, we don't need to give them the money.
Now, I've heard people talk about how you get the odd person say, "Oh, the government's trying to spy on us and steal all our information and so forth." We give away information every day through our phones, and we don't think twice about it. And we don't necessarily give it away for good purposes, but this is our expectations, Tom, I think, are different today than they would have been 40 years ago, 50 years ago. And I think that's a big factor. We're not as homogenous a society as we used to be. There's a multitude of views. There's a multitude of Sabbaths for different faiths. And I don't. There's going to be good and bad with that, just as there's always been good and bad in society. There's never been a time when there hasn't been something bad that needed to be exercised, and there hasn't been a time when everything's been universally good either.
Correct. And to your point, if you go back to our grandparents' generation, or great-grandparents' generation, they lived in, for the most part, poverty.
Oh, goodness.
Definitely as we would define it now.
Well, even the idea of home ownership, that's a fairly recent concept. I mean, that's post-war, the idea of having that home. Like most people before the Second World War wouldn't have dreamed of home ownership. It wasn't a thing that you aspired to. It wasn't an expectation in your life. And look what the middle class has done to society in North America, what it's doing to other countries now. I think you're starting a discussion, Tom, and I'd love to keep it going, but we've got some other calls to get to. But you know what? You've given us something to think about, and that's always a good thing. And Tom, I hope you call back again. We should carry on this conversation again, okay?
Thank you, and enjoy your week, Russell.
Yes,
take care,
sir. That's Tom Davis, a Ward 4 councillor in St. John's. And we will break now for a moment, and we'll be back with more Open Line right after this. It is Open Line. I'm Russell Bowers, in for Patty Daly this week on your VOCM. Let's go to the lines now, and Barry is with me this morning. Barry, how are you?
Good morning, Russell. Thanks for taking my call.
Where are you calling from, Barry?
I'm calling from St. John's.
All right, and what's on your mind today?
I just learned last week or so that there's a new proposal being proposed out in Lewisport for a biomedical waste incinerator.
Right, so a place to take all that biohazard waste that comes out of our various and sundry and dispose of it.
The proponent, who is Paul Daly Holdings Incorporated, is proposing to construct and operate a biomedical waste incineration facility that is located at 17 Robotham Street in the town of Lewisport. I believe, Russell, that might be in the middle of town. I'm not sure. The operation would include the collection and transport and storage of biomedical waste on site. The facility would dispose of approximately 450 to 500 tons of biomedical waste annually using the incineration technology. The proposal is planned to serve Newfoundland and Labrador Health Service for disposal of medical waste, which sounds good. The proposal itself was submitted to government, Russell, on July 9th of this year.
Right.
The deadline for public comments is August 16th of this year, and the minister's decision is due on August 23rd of this year. That seems to be a speedy process, which raises the suspicion of a lot of people.
How long do you think it should be?
Yes, absolutely.
No, but I'm asking you, how long a process do you think this should be to go through this?
Well, it should take a lot longer than that for the proposal to be looked at. And I'm sure I'm not a biologist, but I'm sure there's a lot of information in that to be looked at, other than just the short amount of time that the government is proposing.
And did you read the documents that are online?
Pardon me?
Did you read the documents about the proposal online?
Briefly.
Yeah, because they've got a couple of documents there. I think one's 31 pages long.
Yes, correct.
That gets into it. And let me see, the other one here, it's basically a summary, a 3-page summary of what they're proposing.
Yes, I sent that document to you.
Yeah, and so overall... But let's. So the timeline is what it is. What are your concerns? Is it that you're concerned about the proposal? Are you concerned about the facility itself? Are you concerned about the timelines to get this approved?
So I have three main concerns.
Okay.
One, there's no legislative protection from waste importation. Now, I was involved with a couple of groups and individuals past number of years that was lobbying against the World Synergy importation of garbage. And we were hoping that we had a formal meeting with Minister Davis to hopefully put in an amendment into the legislation that would prevent any kind of waste management from being imported into the province of Newfoundland and Labrador.
Okay.
So we're very, very concerned about that because that wasn't implemented.
So this facility itself, it says the proposal is planned to serve the Newfoundland and Labrador Health Services for the disposal of biomedical waste. It certainly doesn't mention that they're going to be bringing in biomedical waste
Russell,
from outside the province.
Yes, you're right, Russell. It doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
But the possibility is there, and the possibility is there because it's in Lewisport, which is a major port. So, you don't have the rocket scientists, I don't think, to see that there could be possibility of importation of that down the road. And that's what we're concerned about.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, there seems to be, and I'm not making any accusation, Russell, there seems to be an apparent secrecy, a possible suppression of information about the development of the project prior to its registration for environmental assessment. People in the town and area who might reasonably have expected to know such a project was on the table were neither consulted nor informed, even though their concern about such matters was and is known to town council. So what was the secrecy of it?
Well,
number three,
if the documents are publicly available, what's secret about it?
Well, it just came out. I mean, Russell, it certainly didn't. This proposal didn't come about on overnight.
No. I mean, I'm sure there was
to the town council the next day.
Yeah.
This proposal was thought about for quite a long time, and we believe that the town of Lewisport was involved in the process as well. Again, not making any accusations, but why wasn't the public made aware of this before this later date? And we only have a couple of weeks for public submissions.
So you're saying
and that's what I was going to say with number three is the timeline for public response is now very, very tight, and the minister is new to the post.
Lisa Dempster.
Yes, I believe you're correct. So there's a lot of concerns there, environmental concerns. I mean, I know if I was living in Lewisport, which I'm not, and there was an incineration plant that was going incinerating biomedical waste,
mm-hmm.
would you want to live next door to that? And why should it be directly in town itself? Shouldn't that be outside of town?
I suppose it depends on what happens with the smoke and everything that comes out of it. I haven't read this document because I'm hearing about it for the first time. It's certainly something that's worth speaking to the town about. Have you heard from the town itself? Have you spoken to anybody, residents of Lewisport, if they have any concerns about it?
No, the residents do, of course, yes. Maybe not all the residents, but
No.
I haven't been talking with the town. We're talking with the town because we just found out about it last week, and we're just late last week, and that may be our fault for not knowing that. I'm not claiming that, but the time frame to get together now is getting shorter, and we'd like to request a meeting with the Minister Dempsey, to discuss this, and especially about the down the road if there could be a possibility of importation of biological hazardous waste.
I've got to run the news, Barry, but let me ask you this. It's open till August 16th at this point for public comments. Will you be making any submissions?
Yeah, myself, if I do, it'd be part of the group, and we'll have to see about that. But I encourage everybody to make their own submission, and just to make the minister aware of it, their concerns. And so I just want to put it out there to let the public of the island of Newfoundland know that there is another project being proposed of waste incineration. This time it's biological waste material.
Barry, thanks for bringing this up. I'll have a look at that in a little more detail myself, but thanks for making us aware of it this morning. Have yourself a good rest of your day, sir. Take care.
Thank you, Russell. As always, it's been a pleasure.
All right. We're going to break now for the news, and more Open Line coming up right after the news. It's next here on your VOCM. Thank you so much, Brian Medore, with our news here this morning on your VOCM and Open Line. I'm Russell Bowers, in for Patty Daly, and our numbers to call again is 709-273-5211. That's 709-273-5211. You can dial this up anywhere, of course, 1-888-590-VOCM. That's 1-888-590-8626. You can even send us a note on air at VOCM.com. That's on air at VOCM.com. If you're a bit shy or perhaps you want to write down your thoughts, we'll gladly take those as well. Why don't we move on to another call? That's what we're here for, really. And I'm going to bring Eugene in right now. Eugene, good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Russell. Man, you're doing a wonderful job.
Oh, you're entirely too kind. I appreciate you saying so. Like I said, this is my very second show, and Patty was gracious enough to allow me to take the seat over for him for a few days. So I'm having an absolute ball having these discussions. So I'm excited to hear what's on your mind today.
Yes, well, thank you to David and yourself and VOCM for giving me the opportunity to voice my concern. Russell, I'm calling. I am a member of SOPAC, and I was a member when we started that group back in 2009, Save Our People Action Committee. And the reason why we started that was because I was one of the ones that had bust up in a moose accident, and the other members that was on the committee. And we have gained some ground, but Russell, I would say, and I don't know the stats, but I tell you, I got a lot of stats of people that have been injured and killed because I got books way back.
Yeah.
And I'd say we have lost more in moose accidents, injuries, and fatalities than we did in the two wars. Now, that might be sick for me to say that, but I tell you, it's got to the point now, when I started, that group in 2009, 1 out of every 10 people had a story. Now, 1 out of every 5 people got a story. And that person that was killed, that gentleman that was killed there recently by the North Arm intersection, I knew members of that family, and, they're in mourning, grandfather, father, the list goes on, family member. Russell, we've been trying to get some movement, but since 2012, whatever it is, we had a program put in place to cut the brush, grub it off, seed it, fence it where absolutely necessary, and, of course, signage. And every summer, we try to get a coverage on the radio, including VOCM, that will warn the public of the hazard of driving our highways, especially people coming from the mainland. We've got 135,000 moose wandering our province. And here it is, it's the 22nd, 23rd, or whatever of July, and we haven't aired no ad yet. And there's people calling from the West Coast and saying, I don't know if this is accurate, I haven't checked it out, but that the fencing is starting to fall down over there. Now, I've received emails, because I was chair of the SOPAC when we started that group, emails from the RCMP that the moose inside the fence is a good possibility. There's another injury saved, another person's life saved. I don't understand why, if you're going to keep that many moose in the province, why it's not important enough to save our lives. Like, I've had 8 family members in moose accidents, besides myself. And, I mean, the list goes on, and we're having people killed every year. And what they do, like where that man was killed recently, they did cut the brush there 3 or 4 years ago. But now it's up again. There's no grass planted. There's no outdoor seating. And so why don't they listen to SOPAC? Why don't they listen to, it's a concern. I don't know, Russell, but I tell you, it really wears me down because I'm still a member of SOPAC and I'm still concerned. And I don't understand, like now our new minister is Minister Fred Otten, and I know Fred, and he's a good man because I knew him from media because he used to do stories when I was having moose accidents and when I was reporting moose accidents. And we just had some footage with Minister Abbott, which is wonderful, to get emails back and said he's going to start doing some fencing again and he's going to do some more brush cutting. And now he's gone, and now we got Mr. Hutton in that place. I just hope that it don't drop. I hope that they're going to do what they're saying they're going to do, because since 2012, Russell, and we haven't got an inch of fencing. I just came from Nova Scotia and up New Brunswick, that area. I mean, they got hundreds of kilometers done with very few moose. I mean, they're protecting their people. We're not protecting our people, and the government is responsible for these people that's getting killed, really, because if the moose runs out, like in my case, I didn't have a chance. Moose came out of the brush, through my windshield, slaughtered. What do you think, Russell?
Look, I'll tap my head here and say knock wood, because I've been fortunate enough to miss a couple of moose, see them run behind me. I don't think I've ever seen one in front of me, thankfully, at least not that I had to stop very suddenly. I know what an experience it must be for anyone who does have a collision. In fact, even just yesterday, we had a caller talking about the poor state of roads on the West Coast who said they themselves had been in an accident. Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this, Eugene. Are you familiar with the concept of land bridges?
Land bridges?
Yes.
No. What's explain?
If anyone has an opportunity to Google this morning, land bridges and Banff National Park. And what they've done there is, you're right, they've got some fencing up, and the roads, the highways are protected. And I'm not talking about a cheap fix here, but there are several land bridges in Banff National Park. And what happens is it kind of acts as a funnel, because when you put up fencing all along, it sort of cuts these animals off from getting to other places that they either want to be or have to be to feed, to grow and so forth. So there's that aspect of things. But what they did in Banff is they've put up these land bridges, and they're in other places as well. And so it basically kind of funnels moose and wildlife to take what is essentially a land bridge over the highway. They're quite scenic, actually.
Pictures of it. I agree with you.
Yeah, they're quite scenic in their way, actually. So they're not like something ugly that you'd add to the environment or the atmosphere. Again, not a cheap fix, but it does kind of do two things. You can put up the fencing and be more robust with that, but then it allows the moose or other animals to cross safely across these highways, because if they want to get to other areas they're crossing the highway because that's where I got to get to the other side for food, right?
Exactly.
So, there's a mix in between. Again, I have some empathy for government, because the list of things we need to get is very, very long. But you raise a good point. We need more awareness, and not just on the point of view of government, perhaps. I think, we all need to be more careful when we're on the highways, don't you think?
Yes, we do. And yes, speed is a problem. And listen, I know Paddy have said that many times, and he's right. Speed is a problem. But like in my case, I was doing 90 kilometers an hour by Goobies. Speed wasn't a problem. And there's many cases, I went to funerals, women, like ladies in their 70s and that stuff, and they weren't speeding. So, I mean, if the moose runs out and you can't see the moose because of that stupid brush that's there, then you got a problem. Now, two things I can I just came out of Nova Scotia, and I got a friend that got a farm, and the way he's keeping his horses and that in is by electric fence. They get a little buzz when they go there, and then they know they're going to get a buzz, and they stay away.
Yeah, you're going to get some major pushback on that. That these are defenseless animals. I don't know if electrically shocking them is the best way to go. I think there are other methods that are more humane for the animals. But I take your point. I mean, people are kind of desperate to, or at least anxious to, find a solution, and it's not something that we're necessarily addressing as fast or as economically as we should. Paul or Eugene, you've given us a lot more to thought, and yet another reason to slow down on the highways and think about the time that we spend on our highways, and certainly exercise more care, whether it's broad daylight or in the darkest night. Eugene, I hope you call again, and I hope we have another discussion on this.
Yes, okay, I'll make it quick. Yes, and thank you.
Take care.
Well,
listen,
Eugene,
I do have to run, but please, I'll ask you just to call back again, and we'll have this discussion another time, okay? You have yourself a grand... Take care. All right, thanks, Eugene. We got some more calls still in the hopper, and we'll hear from them and you coming up right after the break, and that's next here on Open Line. I'm Russell Bowers in for Paddy Daly today. It's great to have you along with us for this Tuesday morning. I'm going to go back to the phone lines, and Paul Dinn joins me now. Paul is the MHA for Topsail Paradise. Mr. Dinn, how are you?
I'm doing well, Russell. You're doing a great job.
Oh, my goodness. Thank you so much. It's so much fun to do. It's, again, something I've never done before, but if you're not challenged by life, what's the point, hey?
No, you're doing great. You're maybe going to give Paddy a run for it.
Oh my goodness, I wouldn't wish it. I wouldn't wish it. He does an amazing job. This chair is his for as long as he wants it.
Don't tell Paddy I said that.
What can I do for you this morning?
I got an elderly gentleman in my district. Now, he approached me yesterday, and he handed me this handwritten note, and he asked me if I could call in to Openline and get the message out. And I'm just going to read what he wrote, okay? And then I'll talk a bit about it. He said, I'm an 80-year-old, and I was hoping to fish for 4 or 5 more times this year. And also once on my 81st birthday. He said, but someone stole my boat. And it was at the end of the trail near the big pond. off of a 9-mile road in Salmon Air Line. And he said, if anybody knows, please call 1-800-222-8477. And he goes on to say, this old man would like to try to make two or more fishing trips before passing on. I don't know where he's going, but anyway. But I had a chat with him, and he goes up to this pond. His son takes him in on his four-wheeler and that, and they have the boat left up there, along with a couple others leave their boats up there. So he was up on, apparently he went up on May 24th. They had a grand time out on the water. But the last couple of times they've gone up, the boat's been gone and hasn't been returned. So from what I understand, there's 3 or 4 boats left here, and use it as you can, return it. But he's gone up now, and he said it's a 12-foot aluminum boat. He's done replaced all the woodwork on it. In fact, the oars, he said, the oars that are there with it are ones he carved out himself from trees. So he's there, and he just would like to have the boat back, or at least put back where whoever put it, right, took it. And it's too bad, for someone his age who likes to go fishing, loves to catch a trout, and to go in on the quad for a day and find the boat gone is distressing.
And this boat sounds very personal, right? It's not just something he just pre-manufactured and he bought it, right?
No, he couldn't tell me the name. I couldn't remember the brand, but he said it's easy to tell because, like he said, he replaced all the wooden parts. I guess the seats and the back part where the motor goes, and he's patched it. It's been patched up, and that he's good at that. But he said they go in there and it's out of goodwill they leave it in there and people use it as they need it. But this boat has been gone now for weeks now, and he hasn't seen it.
And what's the number again if people do happen to spot it?
This is the Crime Stoppers number, I guess it is. Yeah. 1-800-222-8477. So if anyone's aware, or even if someone who's listening who did board a boat, it'd be great to put it back where they found it, so at least himself and his son and others can use it as well. So hopefully it'll be returned and he can enjoy. Like I said, he says before passing on. I don't know if I spoke with him. I don't think he's going anywhere soon, but you never know. Right?
I'm sure he's got more than a few days on that water for sure.
Well, look, Russell, I appreciate your time on this, and hopefully you'll find his boat.
Let's hope.
All the best.
It's Paul Dinn, the MHA for Topsail Paradise. Thanks for checking in with us this morning. All right, we're going to move on to our next call. And Mary Shortle is with me this morning. And Mary is the president of the New Democratic Party federally in this province. And she's with me this morning on Openline. Ms. Shortle, how are you?
I'm fine, Russell. How are you? It's so nice to hear your voice here in Newfoundland, Labrador.
Oh, bless your heart. Yes, I think we've spoken a time or two before, but
we have, yeah.
How are you enjoying your presidency?
Oh, I'm enjoying it very much. There's so much to learn and so much to share, and there's so many issues that are impacting people right across this country and people in Newfoundland and Labrador for sure. It's great to have some voice in that and to be able to talk to people and bring their issues forward. I'm actually quite honored and privileged to hold that role for sure.
I think there's probably a couple of things I'd like to talk to you about, and I know we've got to take a break in a couple of minutes, so maybe we'll have to split this up. But let's start with one of the things I know that you're quite passionate about is the National Dental Program.
Yes,
and I think we're all still trying to come to grips with what that is and whether or not it impacts our life. What can you tell me about where we're at with that?
Well, I mean, I've been a long time advocate for dental care to be part of a health care. I mean, Tommy Douglas's original vision was to have it all included, right? And at that time, in the 1960s, it wasn't included because there was a shortage of dental providers, I think, right across the country, right? So we've been fighting for it ever since, and I know a lot of your callers all the time are talking about their concerns and fears about affordability. So this first step, I'm so excited as a New Democrat, but also as a longtime activist, to see this first step, which was actually the biggest investment in dental care in Canadian history. And it has some hiccups for sure. It's not perfect, but it does have the capacity to give some level of dental coverage to almost 9 million people right across this country who until right now weren't able to access it just because of financial restraints. And we're talking about, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, can you fill me, because here's the thing that I'm always a little bit confused upon, and it's not hard to confuse me. But when it comes to this particular program, is it primarily aimed at children, like kids under 18 and seniors? Is that primarily the folks that are coming into this program first?
Well, because there's so many people in Canada who until now can't access it because of affordability. I mean, I think we have 1 in 3 Canadians lack dental insurance. 1 in 4 avoid the dentist each year because of financial restraints. So what this program does is phased in groups of people who are eligible to receive it over time. So right now at this point, it's all seniors. It's people who have the tax credit disability certificate across Canada, and it's all children under 18. As of June of this month, those are all the people who are eligible. In 2025, it's opened up to everybody who meets that 4-step criteria to be eligible. That means they have to have a family income of $90,000 or less. They have to have filled out tax returns. They have to not have a public insurance, another type of public dental insurance, and they have to have filed an income tax last year. So that's just for eligibility purposes. Right. So some degree of proof of need, which you can understand under these circumstances. Yeah. So if there's roughly, let's for round numbers, let's say there's 20% of the population that could take advantage of this program. You were mentioning, it wasn't initially phased into our general national health care plan because there weren't enough dentists at the time. I tried making it just even a cleaning at my dentist a little while ago, and they're booking into January. Do we have enough dentists now to take on, all these extra patients? Well, I mean, those issues are being addressed, obviously, as this program rolls out. It will take probably, a little while to get it to be where, it actually should be. But I guess the most important part is that it has started. There are, I think, over 300,000 seniors across the country have already availed of it. And so you can imagine there's a certain percentage of those here in Newfoundland and Labrador. Approximately 12,000 oral health providers have signed up. Now, that's not just dentists and dental surgeons. That's also hygienists, and there's independent hygienists as well. It's denturists. They have signed up. So that's about a third of providers have signed up. So although they've been signing up, I mean, I personally phoned around every dental office in the St. John's area one day just to see how many people were actually taking patients for this, and many of them are, right? There's a higher percentage of denturists and dental hygienists who are taking them on, smaller percentage of dentists, but they are signing on. Some of that, I think, too, is the messaging that has come out, because when the program started, there were a lot of hiccups, obviously, right? I was on a webinar, last week, where someone from Health Canada was talking about, the hiccups and what's been happening. And there were some people there from hygienists and insurers and dentists who were talking about it. And, it's the hygienists and the denturists mostly were embracing this and talking about their patients who come in and how they've actually just changed lives, because they can, oral health automatically, we know it's systemically linked to overall health. It helps us be healthy. And when people come in to those offices and get screened and get checked up, they can often detect other types of health issues because of poor oral health over a period of time, right? Yeah, there's been a few things with my dentist that I've noticed that, I wouldn't have thought a dentist would be inclined or the sort of person I'd turn to under these circumstances, but it does happen. Ms. Shortall, even cancers, right? Absolutely. Sorry, no, that's okay. I was just going to say, we've got to take a quick pause here, but there's an aspect of this I want to sort of focus on for a moment on, like, how, if I think I might be eligible for this, how I might inquire about it and move further to get this coverage. Would you mind sticking around for a couple of minutes and sure, no problem
addressing that on the other side?
love to.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. All right, we're going to pause for a moment. Mary Shortle, who's the president of the Federal New Democratic Party, we're chatting about the National Dental Program. We'll talk a little bit about how you could probably take advantage of it if it's something that you're not aware that you can. We'll do that right after the break, and that's next here on your VOCM and Open Line. It is Open Line. I'm Russell Bowers in for Patty Daly this week. And Mary Shortle is still with me, the president of the Federal NDP Party. And she's been kind enough to help us through some of the weeds of the National Dental Program in terms of helping folks find out if they're eligible for this. So let's say I'm a senior listening this morning, and it's something that I'm looking at doing. Is this a matter of calling around first to see which dental offices might take me as a client, as a patient?
No, not necessarily. You can find that online as well.
Okay.
The insurance provider for this is Sun Life Insurance, and they have been very, very efficient in rolling this out, both with the providers and also in providing information for anyone who needs that. And so has Service Canada and Health Canada. They've been really, really good at this because there's so many people who see the importance of this and how important it is. So let's say you're a senior over the age of 65, or right now if you're an adult with a valid disability tax credit certificate, or a child under 18, and you earn your family income is less than $90,000 a year, which in Newfoundland and Labrador is quite relevant because our median family income in this province is about $60,000. So you can imagine that there's a lot of people who need some help, right? So you can register online by visiting the Service Canada website. So it's www.canada.ca /dental, and that will bring you to where you need to go. Now, a lot of seniors may have trouble with that, or you may not be in a place where you have access to the internet. So there's also a 1-800 number that you can call, and that's 1-833-537-4342. And that's they'll directly help you. And also, there's people here who can help. We're going to have a tent at the regatta, and I'll have information leaflets about all of this, and we'll be able to help people sign up if they need to. We'll be doing some work around that over the next months to come to help seniors access, or seniors who have problems can phone a number here as well, and it'll come directly to me, and we'll help get them the information that they need.
So just to recap but let me just recap that information. So if you want this information, or you know someone who needs this information, canada.ca/dental. You can get more information on the program there and who in your area might be taking patients under this plan. There's also a toll-free number, 1-833-537-4342.
That's right.
833-537-4342. And those be a resource for you if you want to find out more about the dental program.
The
Mary,
other thing, one more thing about the local health providers. If you go on sunlife.ca, you can also find out, you put in your address, you put in where you are, and they will tell you what health providers are in your area, right? And so it's not just dentists, it's also denturists, it's also hygienists, right? And they will tell you a list of all of those in your area.
That's fantastic. Well, there's, we as you say, sometimes there's little stumbles along the way, but the point is to make the progress. And thank you for sharing some of this with us this morning. Again, it's always good to get these reminders. And Mary Shortle is the president of the Federal New Democratic Party in this province. And Ms. Shortle, thanks for joining me this morning. I hope we get to talk again real soon.
Oh, I'm sure we will, Russell. And you have Dave has my number. If people need help with anything, make sure you let me know, and I'll get in touch with people to help, because I've been paying a lot of attention to this. We've been involved in this for a long time, and it's not an easy process for everyone, but we got lots of information to help people with that.
Be patient with each other and ourselves. Have yourself a grand rest of your day.
You too, Russell. Thanks again for taking my call.
Take care. We're going to move on now, and our next call is Jeremiah. Jeremiah is listening on the line this morning, and Jeremiah, you've been very kind and patient in waiting. What's on your mind today?
Yes, good morning, Russell. That was an interesting topic there with the dental rollout. So Russell, I'm a little bit nervous, but just bear with me for a few moments.
It's just us talking, Jeremiah. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
There's nobody listening. It's just fine.
Yeah, I want to draw attention to our healthcare system, or basically what's left of it. A system that is indeed broken, I guess, for a litany of reasons. 6 years ago, our son, who was in a personal care home, had a series of strokes. As a family, of course, we dealt with that and that painful chapter. So 2.5 years ago, he developed a medical problem that 2.5 years later is still a huge problem and very alarming. Incidentally, my wife and I actually picked up on it. Even the staff and the doctor at the personal care home, I guess, did not notice for whatever reasons, So if you were to ask me what the problem is, no, it's not his heart or lungs or kidneys, but this is rather difficult to say, but it has to be said. His bowels, Russell, I mean, this is a little bit graphic. Like his bowels are actually sunk down into his testicles, and the swelling is enormous and frightening. This sounds graphic, as I just alluded to, but this is our son, and we're really at wit's end. I mean, 2 years ago, Russell, his doctor, who monitors him after his strokes, was alarmed. He reached out to the surgeon. Now, this June, a year later, he was again alarmed and supposedly reached out to the surgeon again. So we have pleaded with the surgeon as of January past. Still no movement. I tried reaching out to government, to the PC opposition critic, but to no avail. This is very frustrating, of course, and demoralizing, to put it mildly. We're still waiting for return calls that never came. If I sound a bit emotional at this moment, I really do not apologize. This is a really emotional issue, and this is our son.
That's the thing about Jeremiah. That's the thing about the healthcare system. I mean, it is for those who use it. For those of us who use it, this is not just about appointments and funding and staffing levels and so forth, which it is. But for those of us that use it, I mean, we don't know the outcomes. We can get kind of panic-stricken, as I'm sure you're aware, and as I'm sure you are in your particular situation. So that's the big frustration. Insofar as what you've been experiencing so far, you say you're not getting answers. What kind of cooperation are you actually getting from the healthcare providers that you are dealing with for your son?
Well, as I just alluded to, like his doctor, that was a follow-up every year from his strokes. He was alarmed, and he actually was alarmed. What? It is not done yet? And he raised it at the office, and 2 years ago, and then this year he came back in, and then he said there's a twist there on his bowels, and that can lead to other problems. So, as parents, we're on edge, and we're frustrated and stressed out and everything else, and 2.5 years seems to be a long time. If you was to notice him and you see the swelling, it's pretty scary. Like he really does not have a voice as we speak. Like he can have a candid discussion with me or you or anybody out there, but he's in that personal care home, and he's not screaming, "I need help, I need a surgery, I need this, I need that." So we're kind of like kind of like a spokesman for him, and it's pretty difficult, and so. I remember calling down to the government there, and the guy said at the time, before I got a sentence out, he said, no, we're not going to deal, we're not in this process of dealing with healthcare system. And I understood that to a certain degree. I reached out to and I calls down, and I does not get any answer. Like, that's one of our major problems today in this so-called democracy, Russell. I don't want to get political there. Well, but nobody answers the phone anymore.
No, that's true.
That's very frustrating in itself.
The doctor you're referring to that you're going back and forth with on this, are they a general practitioner or a specialist of some kind?
This doctor that he sees, as a result of his strokes, he's the one now every year that he sees, and he's also a surgeon in himself, but not the surgeon that's supposed to do the surgery for Jamie, our son, of course. So this would be another doctor, and we spoke to him in January, and we pleaded with him, as best as we could as parents, and he said, I'll look at it in a few months, he said, and then he called for one of that test he had to do there, and that test was done less than 10 days actually, and so he would have got that right away. So that was January, and here we are, July. So the fear that's creeping in our system is that what if something else goes wrong there with his situation, our son, and how much longer is this going to drag out? Like we're at 73 years old. I'm not in the process of making noise for the sake of making noise anymore.
No.
But I have to reach out somewhere because it seems like we know the system is overtaxed and we know the system is probably not sustainable. But you know what? Reality kicks in. This is our son, and it's 2.5 years later. And if one doctor shows that he's a bit alarmed, but the other one is not responding to the surgery. I mean, he might be overworked over everything. But the thing is, we're in this situation, and we're wondering how much longer. Is this 2.5 years? How much longer is this going to take,
Well, this is it. I mean, if the doctor who's seeing him on, I guess, what passes for a regular basis isn't passing on the urgency to the specialist that your son perhaps quite clearly needs, that's where it might fall down. So it might be a matter of going back to the doctor that he saw in January and impressing upon him that this has got to move along faster than it is. I mean, they do prioritize a lot of cases from my understanding. I'm certainly not in the healthcare system, but it might just be having more discussions and going back again and saying, look, we need to move this along a little quicker. It's hard to know what to say to someone in your particular position, Jeremiah. It is, it feels like it's roulette sometimes in terms of what you get in terms of healthcare, which is more than frustrating, I can just imagine. But you know what? Can you do me a favor? I know you'll probably check back with your doctor anyway, but we got a break here for a moment. But I'd love for you to call back and just let me know how things are going with your son, and maybe we can talk a little bit later on. Is that fair?
It's fair, but we're only human here, Russell.
Absolutely.
And if the government out there was listening right now, I could easily say to Premier Fury or to the health minister, with all due respect, and please help our son. If the government do not have the capacity yet, Russell, or the resources to help, and that can be a question in itself, please send them to London, Ontario, or other provinces. It's not the first time that's been done, No. So like I said, these are critical times and very stressful times, Russell. And that's what I have to say right now. And I hope the government's listening and they can push this along a little quicker as we speak. So I appreciate your time this morning, Russell.
Jeremiah, we can hear it in your voice. Thank you for sharing your story this morning. We all empathize with what's going on with you, and you're right. I do hope there's a solution coming sooner than later for your son. Jeremiah, you have a grand rest of your day, okay?
Yeah, you too, Russell. Thank you.
Take care. All right, we're going to take a break, and we'll be back, of course, in a couple of moments, and with more VOCM's Open Line. I'm Russell Bowers, in for Patty Daly today. It is the big land. It is the Big Island. It is Open Line. I'm Russell Bowers, in for Patty Daly this week. And thanks, everybody, for being involved in the program so far this morning. And also for Dave on the other side of the glass, who keeps things rolling along by answering the calls and getting folks ready for me to chat with here on the program. And one of the people I want to chat with this morning is Terry Riley. Yes, Teddy Bear's Picnic, musician galore. It is Terry Riley. How are you doing this morning, Terry?
Good morning to all my friends of VOCM, you folks have been supportive of me over the years. So, just really quickly, Russell, is that when I heard about, I just found out yesterday about the benefit that Pam Party is putting together for Labrador, for the folks out in Western Labrador that are basically the stress. I have a noisy heart, and my heart told me, said, you got to write a song. So I wrote a song. I said I should be playing at that. And I called Pamela up, and she's going to fit me on. I'm going to go on 9 o'clock with a brand new song called Ili Tanamik, which is nice to see you. and it's a song I'm going to sing tomorrow on the main stage of the Rock House. It starts at 9 o'clock, I think.
Yeah.
Tomorrow's Wednesday. That's right.
Yeah, it's going to be quite a show because I've been asked to host it, so I'm very honored to do that. And I spent most of the summer last year up in Labrador. I was working in Happy Valley Goose Bay. It was my first time in Labrador, and so I took advantage of that fact. So I did a little road trip out to the coast. We went to Port Hope Simpson. We went down to Red Bay and saw the whale graveyard that's there, the boneyard for the site of what they call the very first oil boom in the world in the 16th century, I believe it was, the 1500s. And then on Canada Day weekend, I drove the other way. Drove from Happy Valley Goose Bay out to Labrador City and got to see Churchill Falls for the first time and got to see Labrador City for the first time.
Well, I've been traveling down the Big Land since the early 70s, and I love the people. Well, it's just there's like Newfoundlanders and Labradorians. We're all of the same cloth, in the sense that we live with we have big hearts, and
absolutely.
Big Land is very dear to my heart. So I'm looking forward to doing this. Well, the band said 2 songs. I got a brand new song called Itty Tiny Meek, which is Nice to See You. But then I also might do one of my parodies, which I'm known to do. I do a parody of Always on My Mind, which actually I tell people it's actually originally a Newfoundland love ballad called Always in Me Tots.
Well, Terry, listen, it's going to be fantastic. We'll see you tomorrow night, 9 o'clock at the Rock House in St. John's. If you're close and you want to drop in and share an evening with us, Eddie Eastman's on the bill, Carla Pilgrim, many more. It's going to be a lovely evening. I'm looking forward to it. Terry, you have yourself a grand rest of your day, and we'll see you tomorrow night at the Rock House at 9 o'clock, okay?
Look forward to seeing you all there.
Take care. Donation at the door for the fundraiser, by the way, $10, but certainly you're welcome to donate more if you've got that capacity. Going to move on now to our next call. It's David Vardy. David, how are you this morning?
I'm very well, Russell.
What's on your mind this morning? I get the feeling it has something to do with hydro.
Yes, it does. I'm back on discussing Muskrat Falls, and I wanted to bring your listeners up to date with regard to the AGM for Hydro, which is taking place this Friday at 10:30 at the Emera Innovation Center. And I think it's an important meeting. It was scheduled about a month ago. It's now been rescheduled because of the fire in Labrador. When I got the financial statements from Hydro, I went through them all very carefully, and I put together a list of questions. And I wanted to just mention a couple of things that stood out for me in those questions in terms of what I was reading about Muskrat Falls and the financial state of Hydro. I guess the first thing is the Hydro is reporting the record profits, $619 million with an M for 2023, and they're saying that out of that $619 million, Muskrat Falls is contributing to their profit. And I find that absolutely bizarre because Muskrat Falls they're selling Muskrat Falls power below cost. And I can't conceive of how they can be making a profit, but they're basically saying they are going to be making a profit on Muskrat Falls, even though the government is telling us all that Muskrat is costing us all $740 million a year, and because of that cost of Muskrat, we can't spend more money on health, and we can't spend more money on roads, and we can't spend more money on education, because Muskrat Falls is taking so much money. And yet now they're telling us they're going to make a profit of $386 million, which boggles the mind. So I wrote a post on Uncle Gnarly blog post saying this is an upside-down world. It's an Alice in Wonderland world, because how can you be making a profit and also be making a loss at the same time? And so my main point is I would encourage your listeners to attend this AGM. It's open to the public. It is our Crown Corporation. We, you, and me, and all the people listening on your show own this company, and the company is telling us some information which is very strange, very unusual, and we need to understand what they're saying to us. and we need to ask them some hard questions, because my experience, Russell, is the hydro and the government are understating the costs. They're not telling us the full costs of Muskrat Falls. They're overstating the revenues. They're understating the costs. They're exaggerating the impact of rate mitigation, and there's a lot of things going on that people need to know about, because Muskrat Falls is not getting any easier as a burden.
Yeah.
The rate mitigation doesn't do anything to pay off the debt between now and 2030. As I understand it, we're going to accumulate more debt. We're not going to pay off any of the principal on the debt. So this is something that we and our children need to be concerned about. And so we're loading a big burden on our children and grandchildren, and we have a responsibility to stand up and be counted and say, look, we are citizens of this country, of this province. We have a right to be at the table. We have a right to ask questions, and we should be all asking questions.
Well, here's the thing.
We should be asking some hard questions, and not simply, I was the only person.
Hang on, David, hang on a second now, because at the risk of, I know what you're passionate about, what you're saying, but we need to take a breath for a second. Look, when it comes to all these numbers, they're hard to throw around on the radio because, they're numbers in the air at a certain point. I don't think we should ever underestimate the creative ability of an accountant. Here's the thing that's fascinating to me, and you bring up an interesting point. On one side, we've got people saying, look, this is costing us, we can't do this, we can't do that, because money's going out the door to keep Muskrat Falls going. But then you've got Hydro, which is saying, hey, look at us, we posted this big profit. It's hard to know what the profit actually is. I'm not an accountant. I don't know if David, do you have an accountancy background?
I do not have an accounting degree, but I did a BCom many years ago, and I know a little bit about accounting. My main expertise is in economics. I'm a public finance economist. Yeah. And I have degrees from 3 different universities that are, and so I've got a pretty good understanding of economics and a little bit of understanding of accounting, and I know how to ask the questions. And I think what we need to do is put some hard questions in there and find out what are the facts, and let them explain what's happening here. Because one of the strange things that's lurking behind all this is something called the Power Purchase Agreement. And the Power Purchase Agreement enables one subsidiary of Nalcor to send bills to another subsidiary. It's the company called Hydro that pays these bills. And so everything is all put together, and there's no opportunity to be able to separate out what is prudent, what is not prudent. And when all of this goes to the PUB in a big rate application in a year's time, the PUB is not going to be able to ask any questions, because the PUB has been fettered, and so to the point where they can't really question anything. But in any event, so what we got here is a situation where some things that are being put together. There's a return on equity, there's interest costs, there's repayment of principal, there's operating costs. There's a whole bunch of things all being lumped together, and they're being sent out as bills, and they're being and so what they're essentially doing here is they're making an allocation of money for profit, and so profit is becoming a cost. Because back in the good old days, in the Wild West, when men were men and women were women, profit was a residual. It was what was left over after all the costs had been paid. Now we're living in an upside-down world where profits are being ordained by on high, because the Power Purchase Agreement basically said there shall be profits. There shall be profits flowing to Nalcor. There shall be profits flowing to government of Newfoundland and Labrador. And that's in defiance of all the laws of economics. And I believe the laws of economics are more powerful than power purchase agreements. But in any event, it's this power purchase agreement that is creating a big mask that prevents the public from understanding exactly what's going on out there. And unless we ask questions, unless more of us ask questions, we're not going to find out the answer. So well, listen, I want to encourage the curiosity of your listeners to get themselves down in sit into that room at the Emira Innovation Center, which is probably air-conditioned, on a Friday morning at 10:30, and sit in the room and listen to what's being said and ask some questions. And in advance, Hydro did, to their credit, put out their financial statements. They're not easy to read, but you don't have to read them all. You can do a scan of them. But I think the public really deserves to take the time to understand what's happening here. And if we just simply sit back and say we trust all these people, they're all wonderful people, they're all ordained by high. They have authority from on high. Well, I think we have to be a little bit more critical and a little bit more questioning. Yeah. So I think there's a lot of issues here, and I don't have time for all of them. But really, the main question is, let's try to be a bit more vigilant. And the price of liberty, the price we pay for liberty is vigilance, eternal vigilance.
Well, David, you make some great points. Thanks for joining us this morning on the radio. And just a reminder, that meeting that David's talking about, it's Newfoundland and Labrador Hydro's annual general meeting for 2024. It's coming up Friday at 10:30 a.m. It's at the Emira Innovation Center. Now, that's up on Signal Hill at the old Battery. You can also attend the meeting virtually. They've got the ability to do that as well. But if you want to be there in person, it's Friday morning, 10:30 in St. John's on Signal Hill at the Emira Innovation Center. Well, we're a little bit late, but let's go to news. It's next here on Open Line on your VOCM.
Your voice in Newfoundland and Labrador's biggest conversation.
If you want to know what's happening in your province, tune in to Open Line every day.
Have your say weekday morning starting at 9 a.m. on Open Line with Patty Daly on your VOCM.
Indeed. I'm Russell Bowers in for Patty Daly this week on Open Line. It is great to have you along with us this morning, listening in on our conversations. And, well, we'd love to have you part of the conversation as well. And just a reminder of our phone numbers. We've got a couple of spots open this morning. It's 709-273-5211. That's 709-273-5211. What's happening in your world that you want to share with us? 1-888-590-VOCM. 1-888-590-8626 is the other number to call. Toll-free from anywhere in the province. You can also send us some thoughts on air at VOCM.com. That's on air at VOCM.com. And I am pleased as punch to welcome my first guest for this hour, Joan Marie Aylward, the Lieutenant Governor of Newfoundland and Labrador. Your Honor, thank you for joining me on the program.
Well, thank you, Russell. My pleasure.
I do believe my colleague Dave told me that this might be your first time calling into the show since you've become Lieutenant Governor.
I have to admit it's been quite a while since I've called in to Open Line. You're right.
Well, I'm only here for the week, so lucky me. And it sounds like you've also got a big day, a kind of a first for you as well tomorrow, the garden party.
Yes, it's our first garden party in St. John's, but as you know, we celebrated our very first garden party last week, our Western garden party in Deer Lake, gateway to the Great Northern Peninsula.
Yes.
And it was a wonderful chance to enjoy the West Coast hospitality, to meet so many people, and to bring the role and the whole perspective of Government House outside of St. John's and the Avalon.
Yeah, it's always an exciting time, whether it's on the West Coast or here in the capital. I'm certainly going to go home after the show and dust off my fascinator. So when you get an opportunity to welcome people to Government House, which is, one of the great treasures of this city and this province, I'm sure you've probably attended one of these garden parties before in the past, haven't you?
I have.
Yeah.
Yes.
And how would you I know you're going to be the host this time, but how would you describe the atmosphere of the day? Because you're going to have great weather for it as well.
Yes, I just heard the forecast, a string of nice days. We're very excited about the weather with a little breeze. But for us, it's an opportunity to meet people, to have people enjoy their home, their grounds, which are so beautiful. And it's also a long-standing tradition, which I think is important to us as a province as well.
Yeah, so many people turn out for it, and it's it is a social event of the season for so many people. Like I said, they just want to get decked out in their finery. You mentioned the fact that it was so good for you to meet so many people while you're in Deer Lake, and of course you'll be meeting more people tomorrow. I mean, as the role of Lieutenant Governor is a ceremonial one, why is it important for you to meet people? Why is it important for you to have these discussions in this role?
Well, I think that's a great question, because the role of Lieutenant Governor is very important to us, to our Constitution, to our democracy. And really, whether you're a monarchist or not, it's important to understand that this role, this function, really is the basis of our democracy. And as we know, no laws become a law until the King's representative signs a bill to enact them, as an example. And there are other roles too, but that's more of the function that comes with that role as part of our Constitution. And so I think while that's very important, this year in particular, it's so important because we've been celebrating and hosting garden parties for over a century. And I've looked back at some of the pictures. In 1924, 100 years ago, we celebrated the opening of the War Memorial.
Yes.
And this year we celebrated 100 years, and it's been such a proud moment for us. It was celebrated at Government House 100 years ago, and I hope that people will come and celebrate that again, as well as at the War Memorial, because this was a very special year where we brought home our unknown soldier. The kind of pride that we saw, that we all felt for that event, I think is evident. And it's just part of our culture and who we are. I think we all witnessed that same kind of pride and joy when those 7 fishermen were found safe and sound. It's a cultural thing. It's something that we share, and I think those aspects of who we are as a province is so important to celebrate. And we get to celebrate them here, Russell, on these beautiful grounds.
Yes.
That are the people's grounds. It is the people's house. And we're able to meet people and share a cold drink or a cup of tea with them. And just to welcome everybody. And you mentioned your fascinator, I look forward to that. But I also think it's a time to come. It's a garden party, so come as you are. Wear something comfortable. However you dress, it's not important. It's about being here and sharing our culture and our pride, because we do have some amazing artists. We have, our long-standing Church Lads Brigade. They're our staple for this garden party. They bring so much to it. They're part of a tradition, and they do so much for our province. And we also have some, as well, long-standing entertainment as well, and we have some new as well, like, for example, the Irish Loopers are coming the first year.
Nice. And
they actually played for the Governor-General when she was visiting in Witless Bay at the Alderwood. So Signal Hill Tattoo, the RNC Mounted Unit and the horses, they're just so much a part of our history and our culture, and we're very proud to be a part of that this year again.
Absolutely. The official residence of the Lieutenant Governor is a building steeped in history. So if anyone is a great lover of history, that's a treat in and of itself to be on the grounds. And the Lieutenant Governor of Newfoundland and Labrador is Joan Marie Aylward. Your Honor, thank you so much for sharing some time with us on the radio. Have a fabulous day tomorrow. And it sounds like you've got the sunshine with you. I hope everything goes just according to plan for you and all the people that work at Government House as well. Have yourself a tremendous rest of your day.
Thank you, Russell. And I'll finish by saying, come one, come all.
Absolutely.
It is an opportunity to come and enjoy the grounds and the beautiful history. And if you're interested in a tour, while they won't be available tomorrow, they are being offered this summer. And so come and book a tour. It's beautiful. It's worth it. and I look forward to meeting so many of you tomorrow and in the days ahead. Thank you so much.
Take care. Have yourself a grand rest of your day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Lieutenant Governor Joan Marie Aylward. We're going to take a quick break, but we'll be back in just a moment. I'm going to be joined by Perry Trimper, the MHA for Lake Melville. We'll get an update on what's happening in Labrador. That and much more. Your calls still standing by as well here on Open Line on your VOCM. It is good to be back with you on Open Line. I'm Russell Bowers in for Patty Daly this week, and I'm going to go back to the phone lines. And Perry Trimper is there right now, the MHA for Lake Melville. Mr. Trimper, thank you so much for joining us on the program today.
Good morning, Russell. You know, it's an honor to follow Her Honor.
Absolutely. Hey, my goodness. I've got all the big guns coming in this morning because I was talking to you yesterday. I know you were traveling a bit yesterday as folks were returning home to Labrador City. How are things going this morning? What are you hearing?
You know, I would suggest we've gone from bursting to busy. We're back to normal. And I wanted to reach out this morning just to say, you know, congratulations to everyone involved, and not just in the response, but I think that the last 48 hours, we all deserve a bit of congratulations on how everyone has been able to return, the community's been able to ramp up safely and securely. And, you know, to move thousands and thousands of people back from Happy Valley Goose Bay and beyond, you know, many people in Newfoundland also have traveled back. It's gone very smoothly, and there's some great video this morning watching the mayor of Labrador City, Belinda Adams, and her team there welcoming folks as they're driving in. It's great to see, and I feel that we all deserve a slap on the back. I was thinking some of the key things that we've done right, and I just wanted to put it out to other communities. You know, it's so important to have good communication and good information flowing. You know, you could see and you could feel, Russell, the last few days, you know, before we made the announcement, before the Premier made the announcement that the evacuation order was going to come off in a sort of a staged approach, folks were starting to get a little testy, and we all knew as hosts and citizens in Happy Valley Goose Bay, we needed to really double down and keep everybody entertained and keep their minds occupied and make them feel welcome, so that you know, Monday morning yesterday when the time came and folks could start driving back, it wasn't a stampede. And I saw many people lingering, having nice breakfasts with their hosts, going out to, you know, have a final meal together, taking pictures, many good friendships. And all of these things contributed to a very safe return to normal.
Well, you know, that's the thing. I mean, folks out for a week. I ran into some people actually at a fast food restaurant here in St. John's who had been displaced from Labrador City. They made it all the way here, but or actually they had come before the evacuation order had been issued, and they were kind of a little bit wondering, hey, when are we getting back, kind of thing, you know? It's to live in that kind of uncertainty for a week. Many of us would wish to never have to face it. And you know, I suppose with all of this stuff, I mean, I take it you're seeing some success with people returning home. I don't know how many stinky fridges there might be as a result of all this, but what do you see as like T's to cross, I's to dot on all of this?
Yeah, that's a real good reason to have this chat this morning. I would suggest that all municipalities and organizations across the province really need to think about their emergency planning. You know, Happy Valley Goose Bay, as I've been stating, 4 times since April, we've had to activate our emergency operations center. And when you look at these documents, and a lot of thought goes into them, most of the time, thankfully, you know, most communities, municipalities, they sit on the shelf. You're not needed to call on them. But 4 times since April, you know, the town of Happy Valley Goose Bay has had to go grab that document and deal with, at that time, a worst-case scenario. So I would urge everyone to take some time and really think your way through what needs to be done, who needs to be involved, the kind of messages, the decision-making, the communications that need to emanate from that, and all of that tremendous coordination under various scenarios. As I said, we had an incident in April where we had a serious fire on the north side of our airport. We had 2 evacuations from Churchill Falls, and then finally, I call it the Big Kahuna, where, as you said in the news, you know, it was the largest evacuation in the province. province's history. And having that previous experience so fresh in our minds meant we were ready for it. And frankly, we could have handled Wabush too. We've been saying now folks were getting tired and so on, but we were ready, and everybody knew their role, and we just jumped back in again, and it went very well. I appreciate the support of the Red Cross. They came a few days later. By then, a lot of our volunteers were very tired. However, they were very proud of the role they played and the compassion they extended to our friends.
And what do you expect today will be like? And do you expect that by the weekend, you know, if the weather and the fires cooperate, what do you expect going into the weekend?
Well, you know, I feel we're still on guard. Labrador is really feeling the heat. We've been seeing this increasingly each summer. The climate has changed, and it's changing to a much more dramatic degree the further north you go. So in the northern regions of our province, i.e. Labrador, where I live, we are really feeling the differences, and we're going to need to be more diligent. We're going to see, unfortunately, you know, we will see more evacuations. We will see more emergencies. So a lot of planning needs to happen accordingly. And, you know, we had actually, with the start of the Churchill Falls fire and the seriousness around that, I started meeting with other officials looking at, for example, you know, when you're moving a community and you need suddenly hundreds of beds and shelter and food, we are going to need to think about how we can activate a facility very quickly. So some additional planning has gone and has happened, and I would say it's being underlined now because of the frequency of events that we're seeing.
You know, because of where Labrador City is, certainly there's things that are within this province that the province needs to be responsible for and be mindful of. From your experience, how much cooperation do you either seek or have to consult when it comes to our neighbors in Quebec? Because obviously, if you can't get to Churchill Falls, you may have to go the other way.
Well, you know, and absolutely good point. It's essential. And I think from a political perspective, you know, ministers, we get to participate in these federal, provincial, territorial tables, and you develop friendships there. Your departments are constantly speaking with each other. The unique organization across Canada that shares, you know, firefighting resources, aircraft, personnel, and other expertise, by the way, that to see that shared readily between jurisdictions is very impressive. And we may have our differences, and we may debate certain issues, but when fellow jurisdictions in trouble, it's remarkable to see that response. And I was often up at the airport watching the different water bombers from Saskatchewan, Quebec, Ontario, and elsewhere, all responding to help us over these last couple of months now. It's very satisfying, and you know, we've done the same. We've responded. Similarly, on a local scale, it was interesting to see and hear and feel the comments out of Churchill Falls for their evacuations that occurred just a month ago, and how willing and ready they were to step up for their friends in Lab City. So, we're going to support each other now going into the future, and good communications, good cooperation will be essential.
Absolutely. And, you know, as things start to get back to normal, I was talking to Mike Furlong with the union there, United Steelworkers, and he was looking forward to getting back home himself. Now, I could be wrong, but something that folks in Labrador City will be looking forward to is Iron Fest. That comes up in towards August 24th, right? So that's going to be going on. People will be heading to Labrador City for that.
Yeah, good. And you know, the friendships that have been made, I would suspect you're going to see more folks now from that Lake Melville area drifting over to catch in and check in with friends who were formerly just strangers. And then after 11, 12 days together, I saw a lot of hugs. I've seen tremendous number of good messages, and I feel it's really pulled us together, and that's a good thing over a big piece of real estate that is Labrador.
Absolutely.
You know, the province, the entire province has been there for us, and I'm very proud of where I live as a community and in this province. I feel we're doing well. When times get tough, we really do pull together, and it's been a joy. Exhausting, but it's been a very content to see how this has all turned out. So everyone's back home safe, and that's a good thing.
You know, I had the great privilege of working in Labrador, as I was mentioning last summer, and working in out of Happy Valley Goose Bay. I have a husky lab from the SPCA to show for my efforts, so I'm very happy with Wizard. He's been just an absolute joy. But you're right, Labrador is a very different place. If you haven't been there, it is very much its own place, and you really feel that only by being there. And for anyone who happens to fly through Happy Valley Goose Bay, the fries at the airport there taste just like the ones we used to get at Woolworths when we were kids. It's amazing what you hang on to as memories. But
good memories.
Indeed. Perry Tripper is the MHA for Lake Melville. Thank you so much for sharing some time with us on the radio this morning. I hope we get to talk under happier circumstances, but this was lovely as well. Have yourself a great rest of your morning.
Thanks so much, Russell. Take care.
All right. That is the MHA for Lake Melville. That is Perry Tripper speaking with us this morning here on your Open Line and your VOCM. I'm Russell Bowers in for Patty Daly today. We're going to check in with some stuff that's going on around the province. We're going to maybe check in with Heart's Content right after the break. We'll do that very shortly. In the meantime, 709-273-5211 is the number to call. 709-273-5211 is the number to call. And of course, it's toll free, 1-888-590-VOCM, 1-888-590-8626. The news is next on your VOCM.
The Tim Powers Show. Join the conversation weekday afternoons at 4 p.m. on your VOCM.
It is Open Line. I'm Russell Bowers in for Patty Daly today. It's nice to have you along with us for another day here and my second day on the program. It's been a ball to be here, and I'll be here till Friday helping out Patty while he's taking a well-earned vacation and enjoying, I believe, some baseball this week. That's at least the rumor around the office. All right, we're going to go to our next call here on the line, and I've got Pam standing by. Pam Party, in fact. How are you?
It's really nice to talk to you. It's like you're a stranger to me.
Oh, I know, because, we've only known I don't know if we knew each other back in the day, but we were in the same English class together at university, Mary Dalton's English class. And I don't know if that was the 1960s or 70s. The years just kind of, blend together. But it's been a while. We've certainly worked.
It was the 80s.
Oh, the 80s? Oh, my goodness.
You graduated in 86. Oh, my God, Russell. Come on, please. You're trying to put me in the same age category as Perry.
Oh, my goodness. We've crossed paths for work purposes over the years. But I know this time now you're helping out the folks in Heart's Content. There's a big event happening this weekend, right? So what's happening in Heart's Content?
Well, first of all, Heart's Content is a place. I was born on the Burin Peninsula. I was raised and went to school in CBS. But Heart's Content from the 80s on was a big part of my life because that's where the father of my kids was from. That's where my ex-in-laws are from. I still have family and friends out that way. Anytime I drive out, it's always so near and dear. I rocked my babies looking out at the ocean there, and I walked them along the road. So I certainly know the area quite well. So when I was asked to kind of lend a hand to some of the promotion of what's going out there, I was thrilled, especially because of what they have going on is very unique. They're having something called Heart's Content Blooms. And I don't know if anybody has ever gone out that way and seen the homes and the houses, because we're in I think it's the 158th year since the transatlantic cable.
Oh.
So those homes out there are very historic. And one of the beautiful things about some of the original homes, the cable station homes, I guess you'd call it, that's where the workers stayed. And they have something that was very unique to Newfoundland, and that's flower boxes. So where the workers were from, flower boxes were very common, and they brought them over. And one of the flowers that they had in there were geraniums. So Heart's Content, it's the first time they've ever done it. I think it's a brilliant idea. They're having their first annual Geranium Plus flower show. So it's mostly geraniums. They're going to be coming from, I know, isn't that cool? They're going to be coming from all over. So it's not just, the people from Heart's Content are just decorating their homes. So if you're going to be driving by, first of all, you can see the people that are participating in that community are going to be, have geraniums everywhere. So it's just going to be a beautiful thing in the town. But the other thing is they are having an actual flower show, and that's July 27th, July 28th. So that's this weekend happening there. But
the fragrancy,
there's also free beer.
The fragrancy. I'm just thinking about the fragrancy that's going to be out there this weekend.
And I was talking to some people who know more about flowers than I do, and they were telling me that there's one of the geraniums, the leaf is in the shape of a maple leaf.
Oh, but, yes.
It's just interesting and something that's unique and different. And many communities are having some fabulous events, but I just think this Geranium Plus event for the history and for the beautification, it's just going to be lovely. So I'm really excited for that.
And look, Pam, I'm a sucker for a historic home. And there's so many wonderful places in this province, as you know, as so many people will know, that, if you find a community with some great historic homes, you just feel like you're transported. I mean, that's one of the joys of places like Heart's Content and, anybody who's been to Brigus or Cupid's. I mean, my goodness, I could rattle them off all day, Trinity. So that's one of the great things about, getting in the car and hitting the highway on the weekends for this kind of stuff. There's also...
You're from Pooch Cove has some beautiful stuff.
Absolutely.
Taking a drive up there too. Yeah.
Absolutely. The North Star of the North Star of the Avalon, I like to call it, out there in Pooch Cove. It's right there at the tip. Just the last thing you can hit before you hit a lighthouse. What else is going on in Heart's Content this weekend, though?
Well, speaking of history, anybody who knows Heart's Content, they have a blacksmith out there, and you don't get to experience that craft much anymore. No? I mean, I know one of the beautiful things about Heart's Content is there's fisher folks that are in the family, there's farmers that are there, and there's a blacksmith, so you can stop by for a demonstration while you're out there. There's yarns and such at what they call the House of Commons. I think this is really cute because this goes back to my gent heritage, what my kids are carrying on. And apparently my kid's great-grandfather, his stage or his store, whatever they would call it at around the bay, where he would mend his nets and that kind of stuff, was called the House of Commons.
Nice.
And they're going to be having what they're calling yarns. So it's not, knitting yarns, it's yarns, the traditional yarns held at the House of Commons. So go in and visit that. I think that's a really nice history for our family. And so I'm excited to take my daughter there to see that. They're also having free beer. Now that has been sold out. If I say free beer, does that ring a bell back from your university days?
Well, see, I have
hanging out at the Thompson Student Center.
Well, this is it. See, because I've been a non-drinker for pretty much most of this life. The free beer thing. When I think free beer, I think Kevin Blackmore and Lauren Chris Elliott.
You got it.
Are they back together?
They are for free. Well, they're joking, Kevin. He says he's on a reunion world tour, but he's doing 3 shows. One of the shows is in Heart's Content.
Oh,
now,
my
it's
goodness.
sold out. I'm really sorry to even have to tell people this, but how fabulous is that? It's been 42 years since they've been together.
My goodness, that's right. They had an album together, I think.
They did.
Yeah, this predates Buddy What's-His Name and the Other Fathers for Kevin. And Lauren, of course, traveled this country for so many years with his show Madly Off in All Directions. And I've seen him play live in Cochrane. I've seen Canmore, Alberta, and a couple of other places. He is one of the funniest people. So the two of them together, my goodness, it's just be utter silliness.
Even the poster that I saw, like it says "Free Beer, Still Clueless," and a friend said, "I got something on that night," and someone else said, "Who cares?" And it's really cute, and so that's a really a prideful thing for Heart's Content to have gotten free beer. I think that's great. But over the weekend, everything starts on Friday, and again, you can't forget the history. 158 years to celebrate the landing of the cable station. They're trying to get Heart's Content, of course, wants UNESCO recognition for the cable station, and there's a lot of work going into that. So if you haven't been out in that region in a long time, see the lighthouse, stop into the cable station, and have a look at what's gone on there. It's amazing. And stop in and see Doug Cave and Darlene King. They're at the Rendell Forge there. They're doing the blacksmith demonstrations. There's a quilt and rug display. I know last summer Perry and I were going around areas of the province, and we went to Conception Harbor, and we saw the most beautiful rug display. Quilt. Even if you think that's not something that's going to capture you, seeing the work that goes into it, seeing the pattern, seeing the design, seeing the uniqueness, the history, it is something that definitely will maybe won't inspire you to pick up a pair of shears and
I suspect it
and
will.
make a quilt of your own. But
Well, downtown the other night I was walking around, and the quilt shop that's downtown have a whale on display in their front window that's made of a quilt. So, I mean, people get really, really creative with this kind of stuff. MissionHeritageSociety.ca, that's the website where people can get more information?
Absolutely. That's where they can go. You got it, Russell. You're an expert at this stuff. And, if you and the missus are out for a drive and that puppy of yours that you got from Labrador, swing on by, because we're definitely going to check it out.
There's every opportunity. Mizzen with 2 Zs, MissionHeritageSociety.ca. To find out more about Heritage Hearts Content Weekend, there's no shortage of things to do. The flowers alone will bring you out. Pam Party, thanks for getting in touch this morning and helping to spread the word on this. We'll talk again, if not tomorrow night, very soon.
Yeah, I'll see you soon.
Take care.
You take care.
All right. It's Open Line on your VOCM. I'm Russell in for Patty, and we've got a couple more calls to get through for sure. Let's take a little break here now, and I'll be back right after this on your VOCM and Open Line. It's Russell Bowers in for Patty Daly on your VOCM and Open Line this week. We've got a little time left in the program, so if there's anything you want to sneak in on and have a little discussion about before we wrap things up for the day, then by all means, 273-5211, 709-273-5211 is the number to call. You can also get in touch with us toll-free from anywhere in the province, 1-888-590 VOCM, 1-888-590-8626. We're going back to the calls now, and let's have a chat with Shane. Shane, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. How are you?
Not too bad, sir. What's on your mind today?
Well, I'm an owner of Splash and Putt Park, located on the west end of Terranova National Park.
Excellent.
I know you don't have a lot of time left here.
No, please.
Splash and Putt's been in operation for 40 years now. We're the largest youth employer in the area, and seasonally, including our restaurant, we employ around 50 people. So, we're an important asset to the local area.
Absolutely.
The issue we have this season is we have a large pool. It's 120 feet by 50 feet. It's subdivided, so one section is 70 feet by 50 feet. It's considered a Class C pool under pool regulations. It's like a splash pad, aquatic zone area for children. We don't need a lifeguard for that area. The other area is 50 feet by 50 feet and 4 feet deep. So under the regulations, we're deemed to be open to the general public and need a nationally certified lifeguard to operate that pool. Now, this year we're unable to secure one, and therefore still can't get a license for that section of the pool, and it's closed. Now, everything else in our park is open, but this is having a devastating impact on our business.
And has it been difficult to get other types of workers and labor out your way? I mean, the lifeguard aside, is it generally hard to get people to come out and help you out for the summer?
Generally not, no. Most of the youth in the area like working at Splash and Putt, so that's,
sure.
It's never been a problem. Our restaurant and dairy bar, we're fully staffed there, so that hasn't been a problem this season. It's this national certification, and like I said, it's having a real negative impact on our business. But to take it a little further, so that's under Section 4.1 of the regulation. So under the same regulations, like hotels, campgrounds, apartment buildings, cottages, etc., if they can't find a lifeguard, they can simply put up a sign stating so, and they don't need one because Service NL deems them not to be open to the general public.
Mm-hmm.
It's stated in the regulation that all those, say, hotels, for example, or campgrounds, whatever, it says for guests and their visitors can use the pool. Now, if you go to a campground that has a pool as a visitor or visit friends at a hotel, you can simply walk in, go down, use the pool. Now, we sought legal advice on this. If that's not open to the general public, I don't really know what is. And
Well, I mean,
our lawyers
if
said
you're
we're not open to the general public. Like,
no, I
that's
mean,
more
at a hotel, if you're registered to be there, you are a guest of the hotel. You are meant to be the only ones who have access to the pool. If you're registered at the hotel and you start inviting in 20 of your friends to show up at the pool, I'm pretty sure the hotel will have something to say about that.
Well, I know of lots of cases where they don't, and it says in the regulations, you can look it up. I mean, it says for guests and their visitors, right? And
Yeah.
same thing with campgrounds or cottages. Like, you go rent a cottage somewhere. It's the same thing, right? So, I mean, like I said, we sought legal advice. They said, no, you're not open to the general public because you have to pay to get in.
Yes.
Right? So, like, that's our problem. Now, I mean, we've been fighting this for years. We've always managed to get a lifeguard. It's gotten harder because a few years back they changed it to a national certification.
Oh.
Yeah, it used to be like bronze cross, bronze medallion, which, more the youth had, but this national certification, not as many have that now, and especially through COVID, a lot of the training stopped. So, I mean, like this year, we just can't get one, and we can't open that section of the pool.
Are there opportunities for you, Shane, to find people in the local community that would be willing to get the certification so that at least, they've got it and they can be available to you? Is that an opportunity for you?
We've done it in the past, new people, we paid for them in the winter to get the certification, but it's just not happening. Like, we had one young guy, he left for another job, that's fine.
Yeah.
We thought we had another student. He was going through the national, but he stopped because he found out he can't actually work till he's 16, and he was 15. Even though he could do the program, he couldn't get the final certification. Right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, and keep in mind, our pool is only 4 feet deep, right?
Look, I have to tell you, I can't swim, and I was not having much fun in a 3-foot pool. You lose your footing, and it gets a little tricky. But I take your meaning in that on the surface, this doesn't necessarily seem like something that it seems like hotels or other facilities would have an advantage over you in terms of what you offer, and you're trying to kind of get an even playing field out of all this. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, it's not just hotels. It's, like I said, campgrounds, apartment buildings, everything, right? And I mean, they have some of them have much deeper pools.
Oh, yes.
And I mean, like I said, if you can walk in as a visitor, and again, I will say it states it in the regulations, I consider that to be open to the general public. I mean, I'm sorry, but I mean...
Well, a private business that you have to pay access to get into is not open to the general public. But, I'm certainly not well versed in this kind of thing, so I'm not going to debate you on it I'm going to defer to your knowledge on this. It's just from my experience. But you know what? I think this is something that we can follow up on and just find out what kind of avenues there might be for you. There might be something that we haven't explored yet that maybe the lawyers aren't thinking about. But I want to try and get one more call in here today. But Shane, you've certainly done us a favor of making sure we know or remember that the Splash and Putt is open. And I hope you have a good rest of your summer. And I hope someone does come forward to be a lifeguard for you.
Yeah, well, hopefully, because like I said, this is having a real bad. We're having a beautiful summer. The weather is outstanding, and it's negatively impacting us. So
absolutely, Shane. Thanks so much for visiting with us this morning, and I hope we do talk again soon.
All right, thank you so much.
Take care. All right, we got time for one more call, and I'm going to head overseas to Belle Island right now. And Fred's on the line with me this morning. Hi, Fred. How are you?
How are you getting on, buddy boy?
Not too bad. I grew up on Town Square in Belle Island.
I was close to you with Town Square.
Oh, brilliant.
I'm on Main Street.
Oh, excellent. Now, what's on your mind this morning, Fred?
The reason why I'm calling is that I got trouble with the provincial government, do with them with the housing and everything.
Yeah.
I got me all tank is ran out February.
Yeah.
I got to get a new tank. It's going to cost me almost $3,000. I was talking to the people that deal with this, the government and everything, and housing said, no, we cannot help you, like stuff like that, okay?
Mm-hmm.
I'm a bit nervous right now, but like I said, I got a very sick wife.
Yeah.
And And I've been talking to these people numerous of times. I even talked to MHA for Bill Allen. He said he hadn't got time today to talk to me. I don't know why. That's a different story. But the problem is that I got to have $3,000 almost to put a new tank in, which I can't afford to put it in.
No.
My wife's very, very sick, right? But the last time I put the tank in was myself. But it was only cheap then back 10 years ago. But now it's triple that, right? So what are you supposed to do? To go anywhere to get something done, you can't get it done.
Well, Fred, if you don't mind me asking, I mean, are you living in housing that's provided by the government?
No, my own house.
You own your own house?
Yeah, my own house. Family house I'm living in.
Right, so it's your own house.
Yep.
And I suppose, what is the reason you're asking the government to replace your oil tank?
Because I haven't got $3,000 to put back to get my wife warm for the winter. We haven't got the money.
Right.
And I'm limited to the housing, because housing one time, you might have heard of it one time on the radio station, up in Paddy Daly, I had better rent.
Yeah.
And I was talking about them, and they done on me on that too, but I won't say nothing about that. But now I'm dealing with the housing again, where I'm to the end of my line. They said they're not going to help, and Human Resources said they're not going to help me.
Right.
I even had a letter gone to the Premier's office. He just took the letter and gave it to his next buddy, saying but he had this and this and this and this, right? But like I said, it's crazy that I live in Newfoundland, and it's crazy ways that happening, right?
It's a tough situation to be in, Fred. I think there's no doubt about that. I mean, you own your own home.
Yep.
It's not something that the government owns, that
No.
they're obliged to do an upgrade on or do any replacements on.
Yeah.
And, it's a tough thing to go to the government and say, please just give me money.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, that don't work that way. And my wife is very, 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 very sick. She's bedridden.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And what are you supposed to do? Like the money that we're getting now, we're only getting, say, $14,000 a year. How do you live on that?
I know.
I'm not talking to the government one day. I said to him, how can we live on the money what we're getting? And the reply I got, you're like the next guy. But the next guy, probably all of them are not. None of them are sick or nothing, but I got a sick wife. If I went to work now,
Yeah.
I'll lose everything that she got. Now.
So if you went to
crazy.
work, you'd lose her benefits.
Yep, I lose it all. And the government there a while ago,
Yeah.
I don't know, federal government or provincial government, they had this thing out. They're going to give me all the money I was getting now, besides $500 and something. And you know what? The Eastern Health told me is no good to you, because you would have lost your health care.
Well, Fred, listen, I thank you for giving us a call today. We've got to run for news, but I empathize with you. I hope that something comes forward and you get some help. Yeah, I know.
I'm ashamed sometimes to call myself a Newfoundlander.
But, it's one of those things. Everyone's got something that, they need help with, and I hope you get some help with yours very soon. In the meantime, that's our show for today, and thanks to everyone for getting involved in Open Line. I'll be back here tomorrow for Wednesday. In the meantime, also I'll be back actually at 4 o'clock for the Tim Powers Show, so I hope you join me for that as well. In the meantime, have a safe afternoon, and we'll see you again tomorrow for Open Line on your VOCM.
Looking for excitement? Chumba Casino is here. Play anytime, play anywhere. Play on the train, play at the store, play at home, play when you're bored. Play today for your chance to win and get daily bonuses when you log in. So what are you waiting for? Don't delay. Chumba Casino is free to play.
Experience social gameplay like never before. Go to Chumba Casino right now to play hundreds of games, including online slots, bingo, Slingo, and more. Live the Chumba life at ChumbaCasino.com.